Chapter 881. But, boss, that was the decision of the Sky Palace's dragon group. Ling Tianhan hesitated. Of course, he wanted to get back at them, especially since Lu Long had crippled his right hand and ridiculed him. Yuan Hu and the others had also been suppressed and ridiculed because of their relationship with Yuer. However, it was the decision of the Sky Palace's dragon group to let Lu Long enter the Sky Palace and stay in their place. Luo Qingtong's return this time was already high-profile enough. If they provoked the Sky Palace's dragon group again, with Ling Tianhan's words, the temperature Yuan Hu and the others were also worried. Although they really wanted to get back at them, who were beside Luo Qingtong, were crying. Her return this time had already shattered many. If they knew that the king of the Southern Mountain Range was here for the evil doctor, it could be said that she had offended many people from Sky Hall sent to their master. If they were to face the dragon king of the Southern Mountain Range far away, we just don't have a place to stay. He had angered. We could just find another one. Evil doctor said. Don't think about abandoning our master to don't get angry because of us. Their master was very terrifying, who was always angry, said so. Once the heavenly she had the temper was fully unleashed. If it was in the past, the power would be and Ling Tianhan had suffered so much only suppressing his strength because of the hidden danger. They were even chased out of the dormitory. It had been a long time since he used his true strength. She definitely couldn't bear it. If however this time really fell in love with someone else, she couldn't let Boss get into a fight with the dragon anymore. Because of this, they could guarantee it was important for Luo Qingtong to improve at that time her strength. The world would be shocked in a month, and she would have a bet with would be shocked. She couldn't get into a fight with the dragon group, but they because of them, and if it got into a fight, faces Boss got shiver in the cold. It wouldn't be good. Around Ling Yu had always they were cursing the visiting compared to Si Huang, the grievances she had suffered. The latter also noticed the hearing their aura around Luo Qingtong only said 2 words cold. That's right. The man was wearing a purple Ling Tianhan. He was wearing a dark robe embroidered with the iris flower. When had the supreme, it made the man's skin look like 24th century. He looked like not taken revenge. That gorgeous robe suffering a loss could only be described as feminine. The person who could make Luo Qingtong suffer in silence. You see, Huang used his face that was even more bewitching than a woman's face. Luo Qingtong didn't want to be outdone. Graceful, not to mention these people from the Sky Palace's seductive charm was not feminine. She didn't care who the those who saw him would be stunned by since they dared to touch her handsome face. Slap her but they would never mistake him. They had to pay the price. His charm was domineering and cold. So it was fine if they made a moment. He stroked the mole at the corner of his eye, and she had to swallow her anger. I have indeed fallen in love. If anyone dared to lay a finger on, I would like to ask the Lord she would return there and tie her hand to show himself. At the same time, to relieve my yearning, in the courtyard where Ling Tianhan, when you see Huang woke up in the mountain range, a group of people discovered that his heart disease had been cured. Hey, thinking of Luo Qingtong's alchemy and the rest will be huge cauldron in front of her. That Luo Qingtong definitely could make a sage realm expert. At that time, she was the chased out of the empire's eye of the black. His eyes shone, even the entire eastern. It's a pity that I didn't get even when he returned to the southern mountains. He had heard of this person. He immediately dealt with. He never imagined that he would. It was also linked after that. He spent some time to stabilize the situation. She had thought they were invincible just because they had evil. Therefore, was even more now did he have the time to come to the wanted to use Luo, who was rumored to be in a homosexual relationship, but he never thought in the end. Black Fields Prince was actually had homosexual feelings. Evil doctor. One of the disciples from the Tianyu Empire thought that this was just a rumor on the street with you. But now it seemed that it was true. We still have to thank. You just didn't know whether the other party knew that we wouldn't have been so lucky. I was a woman in the Sky Palace. Yu Si Huang thought so, but he was not prepared to back down. 82. Look at this dormitory. It's a courtyard like a manor. And there are chi gathering. The golden throne under it's for students to practice. Qianming was instantly and it could be moved, smashed, and put together by his uncontrollable. We're lucky to be able to live here. Then there was a place where Su Xiao Yi Qianming's figure suddenly flew up lived and rushed. Both of them have excellent courtyards. Bang! It's a pity that it's Yu Si Huang spoke. While they paid close attention, the gate of the courtyard was suddenly blasted. When he saw Yi Qianming's figure disappear from the throne, the group of people immediately stood up and flew up at the same time. At the same time, the chair that you see Huang, the courtyard of the heaven smashed into pieces by Yi Qianming's was protected by an array. His figure flashed. Ordinary experts of the Saint realm I won't give break it open. This was the Saint Academy had spent a lot of effort to set up this array in the courtyards of a dormitory with Yi Qianming to ensure the safety. He wouldn't give up of the heaven Luo Qingtong either. The hub of the array was directly connected to the main defensive array of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qi. Boom! It was
The power
almost
of the two
unshakable.
collided in midair.
How could there be
Then
someone
you see Huang's
outside
figure
who could
disappear
break
from the main
open
hall,
the gate of their
go
courtyard?
to the Holy
While they were
Academy
thinking
of the
they
Empire
suddenly
of
saw the
Qin.
people who rushed
Sensing
in
that
from
the opponent's
outside
aura
the gate
had
of the courtyard.
completely
Then
disappeared
they
from the main
sneered.
hall, and
Yo,
even the
it's you.
entire eastern
Seeing
region.
Yuan Hu
Yi
and
Qianxian
others
gritted his
coming in
teeth
from the gate of the
and
courtyard
said coldly.
The disciples
Yes,
of the Tianyu
Bei
Empire
Qin,
and
who followed
followed
wiped
Wu
their
Long
sweat and
said
answered.
with disdain.
At the same time,
Is there
in
any
the Holy
trash
Academy
left?
of the Empire
It's
of
already
Qin,
past noon.
Luo
Your boss,
Qintong was frowning
Luo
and
Qintong,
looking at Su
hasn't come
Xiao
back yet?
Xiao.
Yuan
and
Hu,
the others
Yuan
opposite
Hu.
her.
What do you want us to
So,
say?
You're saying
Recommending
that the
a
heavenly
daughter
dragon
of the
group
Marquis
is actually a
from
private
inferior
force
country to be your
established
boss.
by King Wu
You're
of
really
the Empire
something.
of Qin,
And that
and has
person
nothing to do
is the
with the
fiancé
Holy
of
Academy
His
of the
Highness
Empire
the
of Qin.
Fifth Prince.
Yes.
Huh.
Su
In
Xiao
order to
Xiao
deal
and
with
the
His
others
Highness
nodded.
the Fifth Prince.
Boss,
you've
you
really
just came to
tried
the
your
Holy
best.
Academy. So
Unfortunately, His
the
Highness
Holy
the Fifth
Academy
Prince doesn't buy
encourages
it.
students
Even if
to
Luo
fight with each
Qintong
other
kneels
in
on
order
the
to
ground
improve
and
their
licks His
strength.
Highness the Fifth
As long
Prince
as no
may
one
not even look at
dies,
her.
everything
You
else
people,
is up to
together
you.
with evil
Therefore,
Dr.
various
Guetong,
forces have
have
been
all
born
made
in
a
the Holy
mistake.
Academy.
What else
to
haven't you
fight
taken?
for
Take
resources?
it and get out.
Students
Don't
who don't
disturb
rely
us.
on forces
Really?
are either
Following
extremely
these words,
powerful,
Luo
and don't fear
Qintong
those
stepped out
forces,
from behind
or most of their
Yuan Hu
resources
and the
have been
others
taken
with an
away.
indifferent expression
Little tyrant
and
Yuan
bloodthirsty
said,
eyes.
feeling very
So no one
indignant.
wants me even if I
At this
kneel
moment
and lick their boots?
Ouch.
The
He
bloody
jumped up
light
abruptly,
in Luo
hugging his
Qintong's
feet as he
eyes
jumped up and
flashed.
down.
Boss,
Sima Ju,
let's not
why
lower
did you step
ourselves
on
to the
me?
level of an
Yuan,
idiot.
little overlord,
These people didn't go to the
glared
square
at
at
the
all.
fairy-like
They
young
didn't see
man
you and
sitting
Mo's
beside him.
shameless face.
The
that
latter
refused
looked at
to
him
break off the
speechlessly
engagement
for a while.
no matter
Her
what.
delicate
Who was the
face,
one kneeling,
which was
and
usually
licking her?
expressionless,
Yuan
could not
Hu
help
and
but
the others
twitch a
sneered.
little.
When
He
they
looked
heard
at
the other
Luo
party's
Qintong
description
and said,
of Luo
"Boss,
Qintong,
don't listen to
their
Yuan
hearts
Hu's
were
nonsense."
filled with anger.
In fact,
They couldn't wait
the power
to
struggle
tear
in
the
the
other
Sane
party
Academy
to
is
pieces.
not that serious.
In order to please
As
Yuan
he
Mo,
spoke, his
and
voice
Su
became
Jin
softer and softer.
These scumbags
under
really
Luo
dared to
Qintong's
say
gaze.
anything.
So,
What
all you
infuriated
robbed
them
me
even
resources?
more were the two
Luo
students who had
Qintong
entered the great
tapped the
Qin
table in
Sacred
front of her
Academy
and
at the
said
same time as
indifferently.
them.
They were from the
course,
Tianyu
she knew
Academy.
what Sima Ju
At that time,
he just didn't want her to
Luo
worry about their
Qintong
matters
and the others took
and
the
get
top
into
8
more
places.
trouble.
These two students were the last
However,
two places.
he didn't realize
when they had
that
just
as soon
entered
as he
the
came
Holy
here,
Academy of
he
the
had
Empire
slapped
of
the
Qin.
face of the
It
Grand
sought
Elder of the
refuge
Sacred
from Yuan
Institute
Hu and
and
the
trampled
others.
on the members
Yuan
of the Council
Hu
of Elders
and
for
the
Grand
others had
Principal
also
and the
entered the
others.
Holy Academy
Based on
of the
this
Empire
point
alone
alone,
at the same
her
time.
days in
and
the
were in
Holy
the same
Academy
would
So,
not be
they had taken
peaceful
care of them a
anymore.
lot. Not to
Now,
mention, those
she
two
had also
people
made a
were
bet
together
with
with the
Yuan
people
Mo.
around Lu
This
Long,
even offended
ridiculing
a group
them
of people
without
who were on
leaving
good
any room
terms
with
for
Yuan Mo.
decency. Since the
Yuan
people in the
Hu
Sky
and the
Palace
others
Dragon
were
Group
really
were
angry,
ordered by Yuan Mo
seeing
to
the
make
girl who
trouble for
stepped
them.
out from behind
Then in the
Yuan
future,
Hu
no
and the
matter whether
others,
she would provoke
the two
them or
students
not,
from Tianyu
they would
Academy
definitely
were also
come to
shocked.
find her.
Luo Qintong.
In this case, what was the point of keeping a low profile?
Chapter 8.
She wanted to let the people of the Holy Academy
Hearing the
of
words of the
Empire
two
Qin
students
know
from
that
Tianyu
she,
Academy,
the
Luo
people in the
Qintong,
courtyard were all
was
shocked.
not to be trifled
This
with.
beautiful and devilishly charming girl was actually Luo
Chapter
Qintong,
889.
who they had been mocking
Luo
every
Qintong
day.
did
They
not
looked at the
intend
girl
to
in
keep a
front
low
of them in
profile
shock when she
they felt that
returned
she was
to the
not
Holy
what they had
Academy
her,
of the Empire
who
of
said that
Qin from the
Luo
Great Chu
Qintong
sacred
was
dynasty.
ordinary.
She
and
wanted
that
to
she
be
was born
as
in a
high
low-level
profile
country
as
like
possible,
Dongli,
and was
she wanted
not
to slap them in
presentable
the
at all.
face.
If such a
She
girl
wanted to
was
let the
not
Holy
presentable,
Academy,
then most of
and
the
even
girls
this
in the
strange
Tianyu
world
Empire know the
and
name
even the
of
Sane Academy of the
Luo
Empire of
Qintong
Qin
were peasant
You
women.
have to know
The
that
group
if
of
you
people
retreat
looked
again
at
and
Luo
again,
Qintong
the final
in
result
shock.
will only be
At this
that there's
moment,
no way
someone
to
suddenly
retreat.
remembered that if
Luo
Luo
Qintong's
Qintong's voice
voice
came
cold.
back,
I taught you
you
the
and
wolf pack
Hu
rule
and the
before.
others would
And
not
now I'll
have to
teach you
leave the
another
Sane
rule,
Academy of the
which is the
Empire
lone
of
wolf
Qin
rule
and the Heavenly
when you are in a
Palace.
weak position.
Then why do they come back?
Avoiding is the way
Thinking
to
of this,
preserve your
the
strength.
people in the courtyard
But there are some
change
things
their
that you can't
expressions.
give up.
One of the
In
people
this
who
world,
seem to be the
why are
leader
the weak
shouted,
always
"You
weak,
and who? And the strong
You have been
always
expelled
strong
from the heavenly palace
because of strength.
Even if
because
Luo
of talent?
Qintong Tong came back now. It is because of
You have to find
resources.
another residence
In the
to return
24th
to the
century,
heavenly
where
palace.
information was
That's right.
exploding and
Another
capital
disciple of the
was
Tianyu
devouring
Empire
each other,
also shouted,
Luo Qingtong
"This is where
knew
we
better
live.
than anyone
This
the
is the
importance
decision
of the Dragon Group
and
of the
heritage.
Heavenly Palace.
A weak person can
You broke him
rely
like
on
this.
plundered resources
Are you going to go against
to
the
become
Dragon
strong.
Group? And a
Before he
strong
could finish his
person
sentence,
can also be overtaken
Luo
by
Qingtong
others
had
because
already
of
lifted her
insufficient
foot
resources
and kicked him away.
and unable
Then,
to improve
his
his
body
strength.
landed heavily
Why can
on
the
the
children
ground
of those
and
big
crashed
forces
into the
and
gate of the
families be
courtyard
above
back.
most people?
Asterisk boom,
Unless they're
asterisk
really
the gate
trash
was
who
knocked
can't
open.
cultivate.
And before the
Even if
crowd's
they're
gazes,
ordinary people,
it instantly
can they be
shattered into
stronger than the
pieces.
geniuses of the inferior
I'll give you 3
countries?
breaths of time.
Because of
Luo
their families,
Qingtong
their
lifted her
heritage,
sleeves
and their
brushed
resources
away the dust.
It is
that was
enough to
not on
turn
the tip of
them
her
from a
shoes.
person who would have
She raised her head
absolutely no
coldly
future pressure
and looked
in
at
an
the shocked
inferior
crowd in
country
front.
to an ordinary
Get out of this
expert.
manner,
No
in my
matter how
sight.
powerful
Otherwise,
genius
you can forget
is,
about
if
Li.
he is not nurtured
Luo
from a young
Qingtong's
age
words
and does
angered the
not have
people
enough
in front of her.
resources, the other
Even if he
party's
can rely
words
on his
were
own
too
talent to go a
arrogant.
long way.
Luo
How
Qingtong,
long can
don't
he
be
go?
complacent.
He can compare
I'm
with
afraid
those
you
ordinary
don't know
geniuses,
what the dragon group
but can
of
he
the heavenly
compare with the
palace
strong
is?
people of the
His
same
Highness
level?
King Wu
Talent
won't let you
and
do
strength
whatever
are
you
important.
want.
But
That's right.
resources are
Don't
also
be afraid
important.
of her.
And
Luo
more important,
Qingtong has just come
without
back
resources,
from the Sane Academy.
your strength
Even
can
if her
improve,
strength
but
has
the strength
improved,
of others can.
she can't do
In this
anything
way,
to us who have
you will
cultivated
only
in the Sane
become
Academy
weaker
for
and weaker,
1 or 2 years,
and others will only become
Attack.
stronger.
Let her
and
know the
stronger.
consequences.
So
of
when
offending
others
us.
come to rob your
That's right.
resources,
She
you should
forced us to
protect the
attack
food
her.
you rely
At that
on like a
time,
lone wolf.
even in front of the fifth
Whoever
prince,
dares to
we will
rob.
have something to say.
You will not let him go.
Luo
even if you
Qingtong's
die.
attack had angered them.
Force the other
They
party
didn't even
to
go to the
not
square in
dare
front,
to rob
so they
your
didn't know how
resources
much
and
Luo
rob your strength
Qingtong's
promotion
strength had
opportunity.
grown.
Otherwise,
In their opinion,
if the
even
other
if
party
Luo
increases their
Qingtong
strength,
rushed back
you can
in
only
time.
be bullied.
So
in
what
this
if her
life?
strength increased by
So tell
one
us,
level?
how did you do it?
He was at most
As
an
heaven ranked
advanced
students,
martial king.
You enjoy more
But they were all at the
resources than
peak of
ordinary
the martial
students.
king realm.
But your
They
auras
had already
haven't
touched
increased
the
at all.
threshold.
Aren't you
of
letting
the
me
martial
down?
royal realm.
Luo Qingtong's
Otherwise,
voice
they
became
would not have been
colder
sent
and
to the
colder.
heavenly palace
With your current
as Yuan
state.
Hu's
What
replacement.
qualifications do you
Of
have
course,
to follow me?
You Wen Ma.
Luo
and Su
Qingtong
Jinyue
said.
wanted to
She
humiliate
slammed the
Ling
table in front of her
Tianhan and the others.
But it was also
stood up.
because they had the strength
Boss.
to do so. Otherwise,
Hearing
even
Luo
if they went in
Qingtong's
through the back
words,
door,
Su
it would not be
Xiao
enough to
and the
convince
others
the
panicked.
masses.
Boss,
This was
don't
why so
abandon
many
us.
people were not
We were
convinced
wrong.
when
We
Yuan
won't do it
Hu
again.
and the
At this
others
moment,
became
Su
heaven
Xiao
grade
Xiao's
students.
eyes turned red,
and she knelt in front
Chapter
of Luo
884.
Qingtong.
Do
Boss,
it.
it's me.
They only had
It's all my
eyes for
fault.
Luo Qingtong.
Her eyes were
and
red,
didn't take
and
Yuan
tears
Hu
kept
and the
falling
others
down her
seriously.
cheeks.
Luo
She
Qingtong
sniffled and
didn't
said,
intend to let
"Boss,
Yuan Hu
Yuan
and the
Hu
others
and the
intervene.
others wouldn't
It was
have
indeed
run out of
difficult for the
resources.
freshmen
It was those
to be
people who
compared
threatened
with the
them.
seniors.
They said that if
whether
they
in
didn't
terms
give
of
them the
strength or
resources,
combat experience.
they wouldn't let me come into
But Luo
contact with
Qingtong
those
was
precious
different.
cultivation
Today,
facilities that could
she would
assist
let
in
these
refining
people
medicine.
and the people behind them know
that her people were not to be trifled with.
Chapter
No matter how much
890.
they touched,
When Su
they would
Xiao
return
Xiao
it to
said
her.
this,
Back
she
off,
was
all
so
of you.
sad that she
As
started
Luo
to cry.
Qingtong's
Before
voice
she
sounded,
met Luo
Ling
Qingtong,
Tianhan,
her
and the
character
others
had always
immediately
been
retreated
very weak.
out of the gate.
She was timid.
Boom.
After
Luo
she met
Qingtong's
Luo
aura
Qingtong,
exploded.
she
She
slowly
abruptly
became stronger.
pulled out her tempered
Now that she
sword
thought that
and
Luo
stabbed it into the
Qingtong
marble
didn't want them
floor
anymore
in front of her.
Her weak character
Rumble
came out again.
Following
Boss,
Luo
Qingtong,
Qingtong's action,
don't blame them.
Countless
It's all
marble
my fault.
slabs burst
It's fine
into
if you don't want me.
pieces in an
Don't
instant.
abandon them.
With her sword
As
of
she
wind
spoke,
and
she began to
thunder as the
wail
center
into
reef. The 6 feet
my
thick
fault.
marble floor
Boss,
was instantly
don't blame
shattered
Xiao
into
Xiao.
pieces and
We are
powder
useless.
by the
We
energy
can't
she
deal with
poured
those
into
people
it,
from the dragon
shooting
group.
out in
We
all
can't guard the
directions.
resources you
Bang.
earned for us.
Bang. When Yuan
Bang.
Hu and the
The
others
group of people
saw
was instantly
Su Xiao
sent
Xiao like
flying
this,
by the
their
powerful
eyes also
strength
turned red.
contained in the
As the
ground.
combat
The
alchemist in their
strength of the
team,
martial
Su
royal
Xiao
realm
Xiao was also
and the martial
soft
king
and
realm
cute.
were incomparable.
She was also the youngest.
The quality of the strength
Everyone
was
treated
not
her
on the
like
same
a little
level.
sister.
If the
Even
strength
if
of
they
the martial
knew that
king
she was a
realm
little white
was
rabbit
only
with steel
fog,
teeth,
the
they
strength
still
of the
couldn't
martial
help
royal
but dote
realm
on her
had already
and help her.
condensed into
Therefore,
liquid.
when the people
In
from
this
the Sky
case,
Palace's dragon
Luo
group
Qingtong
threatened them
probably
with
didn't
Su
need to use
Xiao
half
Xiao's
of her
growth.
strength to
They
beat
quickly
these disciples
compromised.
of the Tianyu
After
Empire.
all, they knew
Bang.
how difficult
Bang.
it was for Su
Bang.
Xiao Xiao to
Just
reach
as
the step
Luo
with her talent
Qingtong
that others
sent the
thought was
disciples of the
trash.
Tianyu Empire
They couldn't
flying.
let those people
Lu
destroy
Long
her opportunity
and the others who were
to
resting in the
improve
depths
her
of the
alchemy
courtyard were
ability.
also alarmed.
Moreover,
In an
they
instant,
didn't think so
several
much at that
figures
time.
flew out
They only
from the
thought
courtyard.
that without those
Seeing
resources,
Luo Qingtong
they could still rely
standing
on themselves
proudly
to
in the center of the
improve their
courtyard.
strength.
Lu
They might not
Long
necessarily
and
be
the others'
worse than
eyes
others.
flashed with a trace
However,
of amazement.
if Su Xiao Xiao didn't have
this
the
trace of
opportunity to come in
amazement
contact
quickly
with
turned
those precious
into cold
cultivation
anger
facilities
when he saw his
she
subordinates
definitely
being
wouldn't be able to
beaten to a
improve
pulp.
her alchemist level in the
Why did you
future.
attack my people?
With this thought in
Don't
mind,
you know that we
they
are
handed
from the
over their
heavenly
resources.
palaces dragon group?
When Luo
Of course I
Qingtong
know.
reminded them,
Luo
they finally
Qingtong's
understood.
voice was cold.
Without resources,
She held the wind
they could
and
indeed
thunder
rely
soared
on
horizontally
themselves
to
with one
improve their
hand.
strength.
The sound
However,
of wind and
they wouldn't be on
thunder
the same
circled
level
around her,
as
as
if
if she
she
was
was
a
a goddess
goddess
who
who
had
had
descended
in the
from the nine
future,
heavens.
when their strength
I
was
also
too
know that
weak,
you and
they
Ma's
would
lackeys.
be even more
This manner belongs to
unscrupulous.
my subordinates.
The real thing to
Why do you
do
think I'm
was
here?
to fight back
As soon
with
as
all their
Luo
might.
Qingtong
While
spoke,
protecting their own
Lu Long's
resources,
expression
they would think of a
froze.
way for
Luo
Su
Qingtong,
Xiao
his
to
tone
get
was
rid of
both
the
shocked
other party's
and
threat.
certain.
Except
Boss,
for
we were
Luo
Luo
Qingtong.
Yuan Hu and the
No one
others
would say that
lowered their
Yuan Hu and
heads
the others were
deeply.
her subordinates.
I was the one who
The
suggested
latter
this.
and the others were
Boss,
now
punish me.
like rats
It's fine if you
crossing
don't
the
want
street.
me. Everyone wanted to beat them up. Ling Tianhan took a deep breath.
Most of the people in the Heavenly Palace
He was the calmest to interact with them, so everyone
obviously
was willing to
entered
listen
through
to
the
him.
back door.
However,
The strong
there
had
were
their own
disadvantages to being steady
In the eyes of
doing
most of the
things.
people in the
He
Heavenly
thought too
Palace,
much and had
except
too
for
many
Su
concerns.
Xiao and
He didn't have
Sima
Luo
Zhu
Qingtong's
and Ling
ability to
Tianhan,
hit
who
the
had
nail
his
on the
hand
head
crippled
and
before.
see through
They
the
could
essence.
barely be considered
Therefore,
as qualified
when Su
heaven
Xiao was
students.
threatened,
What right did
he
the
chose
others
to
have to
compromise
appear
with those
in the
people
Heavenly Palace
and help
with them?
Su Xiao
Luo Qingtong,
improve
you
her
actually came
strength
back.
first. Yuan Hu and the others are really
After
lucky.
all,
Her
but even
talent in
so,
the pharmaceutical
you are not
institute
qualified
was
to take
really
back
good,
this courtyard.
and her future
Lu Long
was far
sneered
better
at
than theirs.
Luo Qingtong.
No, boss, punish me.
Yuan Hu
puffed out his chest
85
and stood up.
Yuan Hu,
I
and
also
the
agree
others
with
had
this
spent
proposal.
a great deal of effort.
Although Ling
to decorate
Tianhan
this manor.
was the one who
More
suggested this
importantly,
idea.
the Grand
He was the
Supreme
one who
Dean
made a
had found
fuss
the
about
best
handing
mansions
over his
and
courtyards
resources
for
to
Luo
help Su
Qingtong
Xiao
and the others.
Half of
So that
Ling
it would be
Tianhan's
convenient
train
for
of thought
Luo
was
Qingtong
led astray
to
by
stay
him.
when she returned
Sima
from
Zhu
relief.
didn't say
Even if
anything
Luo
and also
Qingtong
stood out
and the
silently.
others found a few
Since
more
he did not
mansions and
object,
courtyards
he was
and
naturally
spent
in
a
the wrong.
great deal of effort
Otherwise,
to build another manor.
Ling Tianhan
the quality
would have
and
considered
effect
his
of
idea.
the spiritual chi
Ling
inside
also stood
would be
out.
far inferior.
She was the same
to
as
this
Yuan
manor.
Hu, the
Otherwise,
impulsive type.
Why would you
Why don't you
Mom
punish
and
me
the
alone?
others occupy
Anyway,
this manor
there are
after they had
3
chased
people in the
Yuan
Ling
Hu
family,
and the others
you
away
want my brother
as
in
a form of
Tianjin?
humiliation?
Kick me out.
It was because
she
of
lowered
the
her head
benefits
and played with the
before
long
Luo
whip in her hand.
Qingtong came.
Don't abandon
She had already
them.
heard about
No,
this from
enough.
Yuan Hu
Luo
and the others.
Qingtong looked at them,
Therefore,
feeling
when she saw that
angry and
Lu
amused.
Long and the
Her
others
stomach full
refused
of
to
anger
leave was
and
about to
even
be
used the
extinguished
Sky
by these
Palace's
clowns.
dragon group as an excuse, she could not be bothered to waste her breath on them. She waved
Chapter
her sword and
891.
dashed towards them.
Luo
If they
Qingtong's
refused to
voice
leave,
became
she would
extremely
beat
cold
them
as
until
she
they
spoke.
left.
She
Luo
could punish her
Qingtong
people
had
however
come
she
here to
wanted.
avenge Ling
However,
Tianhan
she could
and
not
the
allow
others.
others to make
So
them
she had
suffer
no
losses.
intention of showing
Luo
any
Qingtong's
mercy.
eyes were
Rumbled
cold as she looked
Luo
at them
Qingtong
and asked,
dashed out.
"The people who
leaving
stole
a
your
deep
resources
white
are
mark
from
in
the
the
Sky
air."
Palace Dragon Group."
Seeing this,
Yes,
the 2 people
Su
beside
Xiao,
Lu
and the
Long
others stood
immediately
after
rushed
hearing that
towards her.
Luo Qingtong
Arrogant did not
you.
want them.
Before they could
It's them.
finish their words,
However,
the people
it should be
inside,
Yuanma's orders,
who were also at
Su
the peak of the
Xiao
martial
wiped
king
away the
realm,
tears
but
in
were
her
obviously
eyes.
more
The
powerful
Sky
than
Palace
those
Dragon
outside,
Group is
were
very
instantly
powerful
sent
in the Sky
flying.
Palace.
You,
Other than the Guiyuan
Lu Long
group
stared at
established by the
Luo
Crown Prince,
Qingtong in
they're
shock
the most
and anger,
powerful force.
and the aura
She looked at
around
Ling
him instantly
Tianhan
increased.
as she spoke.
Luo Qingtong,
You should know more
don't go
about
too
these
far.
things than she did.
Otherwise,
and explained it
even
in
if
more
you were the
detail.
5th prince's fiancé,
Yes. Seeing
I will not
Su
show
Xiao
any
Xiao's
mercy.
gaze.
As he
Ling
spoke,
Tianhan
he revealed
continued
his
her words
martial
and
royal
nodded.
realm
Boss,
cultivation.
Xiao Xiao is right.
However,
Just as he finished speaking,
she's talking about the
Luo
past.
Qingtong's attack
Now,
arrived.
the Sky
Boom.
Palace Dragon
Luo
Group, established
Qingtong
by King
appeared
Wu,
beside him.
is considered
She
the most
waved her
powerful
hand,
force
and the
in the
wind
insane
and
academy
thunder
of
sword
the Empire
instantly
of Qing.
swung
Ling Tianhan
horizontally
spoke carefully
towards Lu
to
Long
Luo
Bei.
Qingtong.
Lu Long,
The Crown
raised his
Prince
hand
started to
catch
decline
it.
a few years
Just
ago,
as he was about to
and
counterattack,
King Wu overtook
a
him.
violent
Now,
and
the
tyrannical
Sky Palace
force
Dragon Group is
instantly
catching up with the
blasted out
Guiyuan
from
group.
Luo Qingtong's
The reason why the
wind
Guiyuan
and
group
thunder
is still
sword.
number 1 on the surface
The strength of the
is
aura
because of the
was
Crown
not the
Prince's
slightest
status
bit
as the
inferior
Crown
to
Prince
his.
and his
In
strength.
fact,
he was
already
already
number
even
1 in
stronger
the
than
Sing
the
Academy
aura that
many
erupted
years
from his
ago.
body.
Ling
Martial
Tianhan
Emperor
continued.
However,
Lu Long was
King
shocked.
Wu's strength has
Bang.
increased
His
rapidly
hands were
in the
numb
past
from the
few
shock.
years. And in the
He is
next
not
second,
far from the
his
Crown
figure
Prince
was suddenly
on the Soaring
blasted
Dragon
away.
list. Boom.
As for the Crown
Lu
Prince,
Long,
his
strength
fell
has
heavily
not
on the ground
increased
in
in
the
front
past
of the
few
disciples
years.
of the
In the
Tianyu
ranking of the
Empire
top
who were at the
geniuses of the
peak
Great
of the
Qin
Martial
Sacred
King
Academy,
They
among
looked at
the
Lu
4
Long
sacred
in shock.
academies, has
He couldn't even
dropped from
take one
second to
move
last.
from Luo
Ling
Qingtong.
Tianhan could not
Looking at
help
the terrifying
but shake his
power
head.
rippling
If not for
around
this,
Luo
the Sky Palace
Qingtong's
Dragon
body
Group would
his
not be
face
so
instantly
arrogant.
turned.
It is said that
deathly
King
pale.
Wu also
Martial
said that he will
Emperor
replace the
stage.
Crown Prince
Luo
as
Qingtong
number 1 in the
is
Sane
actually
Academy
a
this
martial
year,
emperor
and lead the Sane
Their
Academy
faces
of
were
the Empire of
pale,
Qing
green,
to defeat the
and black.
other 3 Sane
Luo
Academies.
Qingtong's strength,
Because of this,
was completely
King
beyond
Wu
their
is in the
imagination.
limelight now.
Originally,
and the Sky Palace
they
Dragon
thought
Group
that
is
Luo
very
Qingtong,
arrogant.
who had
Yes, returned from a
Yuan Hu
3-month
said,
leave,
"Boss,
had the
you just
strength
came
of an
here and
advanced
did not
martial
know.
king realm.
Before the crown
which was
prince
already a stroke of
disappeared.
luck for you
The
and
Sky
Hu
Palace
and the
Dragon
others.
Group
They
dominated
didn't
the
expect
Sky
that
Palace Dragon
Luo
Group.
Qingtong's strength
At that time,
had
the
directly
forces
advanced
formed by
to
the various
martial
heaven
emperor
stage students
stage.
were all
They finally
competing with
knew
each other.
why Luo
Everyone
Qingtong
went
had
back
the
and
confidence
forth,
to bring Yuan
snatching
Hu
resources
and the others
based
back
on their
to
own
make trouble.
abilities.
With the
No one was
talent
afraid
and
of the
strength that Luo
As long as they
Qingtong
could
had
win the
shown in
Sky
his
Palace
club,
Dragon
she
Group,
indeed
they would
had
win
the
the Palace
ability to
Dragon
drive them out of this
But
manner.
ever since the martial
Luo
king
Qingtong
rose to
don't
power
be complacent.
and the Dragon
You have
Group
violated
took
the
over the leading
decision of the
position,
Heavenly
he
Palace's
began to
Dragon
gather
Group.
the forces
You are
of the Sacred Academy.
Chapter 886. Ling Tianhan. Luo Qingtong's face was impassive. That pair of eyes, which were like
Their
clear
resources
spring
were
water
plundered.
with traces
Now,
of blood.
the Sky
mist
Palace
floating
Dragon
in
Group
it
was
was
the
now
most
dyed
powerful
with the
group.
color of blood.
Only the
in
Crown
layers.
Prince's
But
Sky
soon,
Palace Dragon
Luo
Group will have some
Qingtong
scruples.
suppressed it.
Yuan
No,
Hu
in the
slapped
Sand
his
Academy
forehead
she
and
could not
said,
kill
"Oh
as she
yes,
wished.
when we were targeted
Luo
by the Sky
Qingtong
Palace Dragon
suppressed
Group,
the
the Crown
bloodlust
Prince's
that
Sky
rose from
Palace
the bottom
Dragon
of her
Group
heart.
helped us out.
She asked Ling Tianhan to come to her side.
How did he break your right hand?
Chapter
Do it again.
892. I
Yuan
guarantee
Hu felt
that his
indignant
hand
as
will
he spoke.
never recover.
Not for anything else.
Given Luo
but the method
Qingtong's
used by the
status,
Dragon Group was
Ling
simply
Tianhan
too
naturally
shameless.
believed her.
Su
without a doubt.
Xiaoxiao was the
He
main
walked towards
target
Lu
of the
Long.
pharmaceutical
Lu Long had
institution
already
and was a
struggled with
rare
all his
genius.
might when he heard
Coupled with the
Luo
attention of the
Qingtong's
master of
words.
the pharmaceutical
The way he broke Ling
institution and the
Tianhan's
Grand
right
President,
hand was
no matter how
extremely
overboard
cruel.
the Dragon
In
Group
order to prevent the
was,
Ling
they would
family from
not
competing
dare
with the
to
royal
openly
family of
target her.
Tianyu,
And
not to
threatening
mention
their rule.
they would not let her
Ling
come into
Tianhan's
contact
hand
with
had
the
been
cultivation
broken.
facilities
If he had
that
not
assisted
met
Luo
in refining
Qingtong.
medicine.
Even
If
they
they did
found a
so,
saint pharmacist
there would be
to
no
heal him,
need
his
for
muscles,
Su Xiaoxiao to
bones,
complain.
and flesh
The teachers
would
of the
never have been
sacred
able to
institution
move
would
as
naturally
freely
come
as
looking
before.
for them.
Only
the Dragon
Luo
Group
Qingtong's
was
technique
treacherous.
could
How
remove
did
the
they do it?
muscles and
They had
bones
sent
from
people
Ling
to guard the
Tianhan's
cultivation
right hand.
facilities.
Even so,
As soon as they saw
Ling
Su
Tianhan
Xiaoxiao,
still had to
a
strengthen
group of people would
and nourish his
immediately
right hand
stand in
before
front of
the
the
cultivation
cultivation the
facilities
strength of his
and
left
queue
hand
up.
and other
How many
parts of his
people were
body.
there in the
Lu
Sky
Long
Palace's
had broken
Dragon
Ling
Group?
Tianhan's
Almost
hand
1/10
according
of the
to his
Sky Palace's
previous
students.
injuries.
And
Under
now,
such circumstances,
it was his turn to enjoy
even if
that
they only
feeling.
took out a small
Ling
part
Tianhan
or even a small
would
group
return
of people,
all the pain
it was
he had
enough to make
suffered
Su
from his right
Xiaoxiao
hand
all
heal
these
from
years
dawn to dawn the next
No.
day.
Luo
Without being able
Qingtong,
to
you
get the
can't do that.
opportunity
We
to
are
train
already
at the
members of the
cultivation
Sky
facility.
Palace's
They
Dragon
had
Troop.
used such a method
Especially me,
to
I've been
shamelessly
accepted
prevent
as an internal
Su
member.
Xiaoxiao
If you dare to
from coming
do
into
this to me,
contact with the
the Fifth
cultivation
Prince
facilities
and King
and
Wu
prevent
will
others
not
from
let you
using
off.
it against them.
Is that
Otherwise,
so?
how
Tell
could
them,
Yuan
I'll be
Hu
waiting.
and the rest
Luo
given so
Qingtong's voice
easily
was cold.
and listen to their threats
She lifted her
and
foot
give their
and
resources
stomped.
to them?
It was because
Lu
this
Long
method
screamed in
was
pain.
too
I'll leave them to you.
shameless.
Luo
For Su
Qingtong
Xiaoxiao's
said
future
if you walked
advancement.
towards the
They had
courtyard.
no choice.
It doesn't matter
but
if
to
you
do
hurt
so or cripple
After
them.
hearing
After
Yuan
you've
Hu's
vented your
words,
anger,
Luo
throw them at
Qingtong
the entrance
raised her
of the Sky
eyebrows
Palace's
slightly.
Dragon
His
Troop.
Highness the Crown
You gave me
Prince
such a
helped
big
you.
gift.
The reason
moment
why
you
she did
came
not
back.
mention the Guiyuan
I should return the
regiment,
favor.
but the Crown Prince
The smile
was
on
because
Luo
Luo
Qingtong's
Qingtong
lips
knew
was
that if it was
evil and
not
cold.
for Ma Qianye's
She had said that if
instructions,
these people
the
did
Guiyuan
not
regiment
leave
would
within
not have
3
been so
breaths,
nosy.
they could forget
After all,
about leaving.
the Crown Prince
They
had
would
been
be carried
quiet
out
and did not
and
give King Wu a
this was
chance
not
to be
the end of
aggressive.
it.
After
She wanted to
Luo
strip them
Qingtong
of their
returned
status
to the Chu
as
dynasty,
heavenly students.
she had also
They
investigated
said that her
that the
people
Empire
were
of
not
Qin
qualified
dynasty
to stay
in the Blackfield.
She would like to see who was
After the
not
rise of King
qualified.
Wu,
The smile
Ma
on
Qianye
Luo
begun to lay
Qingtong's
low.
lips was cold.
This was a smart move.
On the other hand,
After all,
Luo
Ma
Qingtong's
Qianye's dragon chi
Yuan Hu
was
said
constantly
King
being
Wu's
drained.
heart. Under
It's
such
great that Boss is
circumstances,
back.
it was the
They've been
stupidest
holding in
thing
their
to do.
anger for so
Mo
long,
Chun Xian,
and they had
might
finally
be eager for Ma
vented it.
Qianye
As
to
for the
fight him
revenge,
with the
revenge
art
of
of
seizing
seizing
luck.
luck. In this way, in close
Previously,
contact,
he
the
could
group of
absorb
people
more
was still
providence,
worried sick at heart,
and the
but
draconic
now
aura
they had
lost from Ma
completely
Qianye's
accepted
body
would be
After
more
all,
powerful.
They had been holding it in
Fortunately,
for so long.
the dragon
but
energy
Yuan
in
Ma
Ma
and the
Qianye's
dragon
body
troop
had
did
already
not
taken
let them
shape.
go.
If
Now
it had been
that
absorbed
Boss had a
by
duel with
Mo,
Yuan Ma,
Chun Xian
there was no
like
need
this
to be
before
afraid
it
of
took
them.
shape.
So what if they
would
had
have
offended them?
collapsed long
With this
ago.
thought in mind,
As
the
Luo
group of people
Qingtong
immediately
immediately
felt relieved.
She raised her hand
At the same
and gently
time,
rubbed her
in
chin.
the main city of the Blackfield,
Yi Qianxian looked at
Ma
the
Qianye
devilish
even ordered
man
people
with
to
a
protect
cold
Yuan
and
Hu
bloodthirsty
and the
face.
others.
He almost
The Ling
crushed the
family
armrest
must
in
have
his
thought
hand.
of Ling Tianhan and the others after they returned from the Tianyu Empire. So they gave the order. TSK, I owe him a big favor. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. This Ma Qianye is quite interesting. This was the first time that Luo Qingtong did not even have the slightest thought of rejecting a gift and a favor to this extent. Luo Qingtong was a person who could be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Ma Qianye first gave the medicine and the Dharma access, and then he ordered people to protect Yuan Hu and the others. Even if he had a request and his purpose was not pure, Luo Qingtong was still willing to accept this favor. After all, standing in his position, It was already very rare that he did not use any coercion or enticement. Moreover, that King Wu, Luo Qintong, really did not like him, not to mention that he was with Yu Wenma. The person behind him was the heavenly doctor, which was enough for Luo Qintong to take action. How dare he covet her man? She would let the other party know that not just anyone could take a fancy to her. At least, not her man. Let's go. Let's go to the Gui Yuan Regiment first. Chapter 893. At the same time, she could also give the crown prince some interest. When Luo Qingtong went to the Gui Yuan group, a group of people were left at the place where Yuan Ma was. Lu Long, Yuan Ma, rushed over after receiving the news. When he saw the group of people lying on the ground, he was shocked and angry. Why are you like this? Why are you here? Among the group of people, the two who were the least injured were from the Tianyu Branch Academy, who entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin along with Su Xiaoxiao. They said, "Brother Yuan Ma, it's Luo Qingtong. She told Ling Tianhan to do this." Their voices sounded like they were crying. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to throw these people to the dragon group of the Sky Palace. But thinking that these people were sent by Yuan Ma, it would be better to throw them here and slap them in the face. So, she asked Ling Tianhan to throw them here. The limbs of the group of people were all broken. They were thrown there like dumplings and stacked on top of each other. The few people who had insulted Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao were completely unconscious. Lu Long was placed on top of the pile of dumplings. His right hand was completely broken. Ling Tianhan used the same method that the Lu family's people used to break his hand, and forcibly broke Lu Long's hand. And just like how Lu Long broke his hand, he added more injuries to the wound. Lu Long's right hand was in a terrible state. Yuan Ma looked at it and was extremely angry. He was angry because Luo Qingtong didn't give him face and insisted on going against him. He was also angry because Luo Qingtong broke Lu Long's hand. Lu Long was one of his capable subordinates and his most important confidant. He was preparing to train him to work for him in the future. In this situation, how could Lu Long continue to work for him? And if he trained other people, let's not talk about whether they could be as loyal and trustworthy as Lu Long, who had been with him all the way from the Empire of Tianyu. Even the talent of those people might not be able to compare to Lu Long. Those who were more talented than him were mostly the disciples of the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty. Even if those people wanted to become Ling Tianhan's confidants, he would not agree. Who knew when he would be sold? Luo Qingtong was forcing him to rely on the martial king in the future, and unable to cultivate his own forces. Thinking of this, Yuan Ma gritted his teeth. He can tell if he was more angry or regretful. Luo Qingtong. He thought of the beautiful figure standing proudly in the square. In that instant, the girl's figure was like a goddess bathed in divine light. Even Yuan Ma was deeply captivated. However, what the other party threw at him was a letter of annulment. Now, he even led those people from the Ling family to break the limbs of his trusted aide. Senior Marshal Brother, don't be angry. This Luo Qingtong is too much. She really doesn't take you seriously at all. Seeing the anger on Yuan Ma's face, Su Jinyue was secretly happy. Originally, when Luo Qingtong came back, Yuan Ma asked people to call Lu Long and the others back. It was she who stopped them. Seeing that Luo Qingtong really had a conflict with Lu Long and the others, Su Jinyue was delighted. She wouldn't let Luo Qingtong and Yuan Ma live happily. She must make Yuan Ma hate Luo Qingtong. The more the better. Chapter 894. She comforted him. Senior brother, she is so arrogant. The Sky Palace's dragon group will definitely not let them off. It was the Sky Palace's dragon group who ordered Lu Long and the others to occupy the place where Su Xiaoxiao and the others lived. Luo Qingtong and the others drove them out. Not only was it a slap to Yuan Ma's face, but it was also a slap to the Sky Palace's dragon group and King Wu's face. Let's see how she will suffer in the future. As Su Jinyue was thinking about this, Yuan Ma's cold voice sounded. This is between me and her. King Wu doesn't need to intervene. Tell the Sky Palace's dragon group that they don't need to interfere. Su Jinyue exploded when she heard this. Senior brother, that Luo Qingtong didn't care about your face at all. Not only did she break off the engagement in public, but she also beat up Lu Long and the others. Are you just going to let it go? As she spoke, she was jealous and said angrily, "What's more, do you think you can just ignore it? King Wu might not let them off. Don't forget, the Crown Prince has helped Ling Tianhan and the others several times. Using this opportunity, they might be able to force the Crown Prince to take action. How could King Wu let Luo Qingtong and the others go? That would be a breakthrough for them to deal with the Crown Prince and the Gui Yuan clique. Previously, Su Xiao and the others' tolerance and compromise made the Dragon Group unable to find a reason to take action. Now, they had an excuse. How could they let them off? Moreover, there's still Mo Yufei. She also likes you. As the princess of the royal family, will King Wu listen to us or her? Su Jinwei said coldly. At the mention of Mo Yufei, she also felt a burst of jealousy. The princess of the Empire of Qin's dynasty had been pampered since she was a child and was very arrogant. If Yuan Ma hadn't insisted on not breaking off the engagement and became her father's disciple, she might have been suppressed by the other party and couldn't get close to Yuan Ma at all. Su Jinwei had already informed Mo Yufei of the news. She wanted to see how the latter could be a match for Luo Qingtong. She only needed to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. With the Heavenly Palace's dragon group here, she was waiting to see how miserable Luo Qingtong's life in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin would be. Thinking of this, Su Jinwei finally felt a little better. When Yuan Ma heard her words, his expression also changed. Mo Yufei, Princess Yufei of the Empire of Qin Holy Dynasty. Yuan Ma also had a headache. It was impossible for him to break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. But Mo Yufei kept pressing on. Now that Luo Qingtong had come to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would not let her go. Yuan Ma would never let her ruin his plan. With that thought in mind, he immediately walked toward the Heavenly Palace's dragon group. I'll go find His Highness King Wu. As soon as he said that, Su Jinwei snorted softly and said, His Highness King Wu said that he might have a breakthrough in the dragon qi in his body this month. He has already applied to go out and gain experience. He's not in the sacred institution. Therefore, Luo Qingtong would definitely not be able to escape from Princess Yufei's difficulties. Let's see how she's going to end up in such a miserable state. Princess Yufei was very good at torturing people. While Su Jinwei was thinking about this, Luo Qingtong, Su Xiao, and the others were stopped outside the courtyard of the Gui Yuan clan's Machenyi. Are you Luo Qingtong? Outside the Gui Yuan clan's residence, when Luo Qingtong and the others arrived, there were already several people waiting there. Chapter 895. She was wearing a red robe. However, the gorgeous robe on her was not as gorgeous as the simple red robe on Luo Qingtong. If the red on Luo Qingtong's robe was set off by her own appearance, it made the simple red robe look as bright as the morning sun. In that case, the girl was just a simple ball of fire. Although bright, it was not as dazzling and eye-catching as Luo Qingtong's. Luo Qingtong's charm was enough to distinguish her from the other party. When they stood together, it was even more obvious who was superior. Seeing this scene, a trace of anger flashed across the face of the gorgeous girl. In the whispers of the woman beside her, she looked at Luo Qingtong with an even more unfriendly expression. She directly walked in front of Luo Qingtong and stopped her. A low-class person from a low-class country. The beautiful girl played with the whip inlaid with jewels and jade in her hand. She looked up at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, What qualifications do you have to come to my brother Crown Prince's place? You want to ask to see my brother Crown Prince? Don't you know who you are? Aren't you afraid of dirtying my brother Crown Prince's place? Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong with disdain. There was a trace of jealousy and annoyance in her eyes. The other party was Yuan Ma's fiancé who refused to break off the engagement. Mo Yufei did not think that Yuan Ma refused to break off the engagement because of Luo Qingtong. She only thought that he refused to break off the engagement because of his affection and righteousness. Therefore, she was even more infatuated with him. But at this moment, looking at Luo Qingtong who appeared in front of her, she felt an indescribable discomfort in her heart. The other party looked like this, and her charm and temperament did not lose to her in the slightest. How did she look like someone from a low-class country? Even Mo Yufei could not compare to Luo Qingtong's natural elegance and grace. Luo Qingtong was a supreme ocular sorcerer in her previous life. She stood at the top of the ability world in the 24th century. How could she lack the temperament of a superior? Even Feng Wan's temperament could not compare to her, let alone the arrogant Mo Yufei, who was just an ordinary royal princess. Luo Qingtong looked at the person blocking her way in front of her, and Su Xiao and the others who were filled with righteous indignation and were about to rush out to argue with the other party. When the latter and the others heard that Luo Qingtong was insulted, their faces flushed red, and they almost rushed up to fight with Mo Yufei. In front of Luo Qingtong, why would they care if she was a princess? She dared to insult boss. For Su Xiao, and Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong was Luo Qingtong's Luo Qingtong. No matter what was done to them, they could endure it. And Luo Qingtong. A good dog doesn't block the way. Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at the beautiful young girl who was obviously of an extraordinary background standing in front of her. She was not prepared to give her any face. If the other party expected her to endure and bow her head like the others, then they were wrong. It was not that Luo Qingtong would not bow her head, but it was obvious that the person in front of her was not qualified. Report to your crown prince that Luo Qingtong came to visit. After Luo Qingtong finished speaking, she directly said to the guards outside the courtyard. The latter and the others were very well trained. It could be seen that Ma Chenyi treated the people of the Gui Yuan group as his trusted subordinates. The people who came out of here in the future would definitely be the core of his forces. Those people took the words and went in to report. And Mo Yufei gritted her teeth so hard that she almost broke her teeth. What did you just call me? And Mo Yufei could not believe that Luo Qingtong actually called her a dog. How dare this woman? Chapter 896. A cold light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. Right at this moment, a stern shout suddenly rang out in the courtyard. Stop! Yufei, you've gone too far. While speaking, Ma Chenyi, who had received a report from someone outside that Luo Qingtong was here, hurriedly put down what he was doing and walked out of the courtyard. Seeing this scene, a cold and fierce look flashed across his face, and he immediately snatched the whip from Mo Yufei's hand. With a bang, he spat out the energy in his hand and instantly shattered the extremely luxurious and beautiful whip inlaid with jewels and jade into pieces. You're too ridiculous. Ma Chenyi looked at Mo Yufei coldly and threw the whip back to her. Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei looked at him in disbelief. You actually broke my favorite whip for a woman like that. Why? Mo Yufei's face was full of anger. She had waited outside for a long time, but Ma Chenyi said he was busy and had no time to see her. Why did he come out when this woman came? Thinking of this, Mo Yufei gritted her teeth and said, Brother Crown Prince, do you like this woman? How can you face Sister Qingwei like this? She is infatuated with you and has been waiting for you all this time. Sister Qingwei is the #1 on the Young Phoenix list of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. How can she be inferior to this woman? She raised her hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. Before the latter had any reaction, little gangster Yuan and the others behind her were completely enraged. What are you talking about? Mo Yufei, don't think that everyone is like you who likes to be cheap and chase after men. Yuan Hu and the others were furious. Luo Qingtong originally brought them here to thank Ma Chenyi for protecting them before. Now it seemed that they didn't come here to thank him. Instead, they were embarrassed. This Princess Yufei was not normal before. She was the princess of the royal family of the Empire of Qin. How could she be jealous of Su Jinyue and Yu Wenma, a man she was engaged to? They all blushed for her and the royal family of the Empire of Qin. How shameless! How dare they say that their boss is here to curry favor with the crown prince? Did she think that everyone was like her and Su Jinyue? The words of little Overlord Yuan and the others immediately angered Mo Yufei. She pointed at Luo Qingtong, Yuan Hu, and the others and said, Okay, if you're not here to curry favor with my crown prince Gidge, then tell me, why are you looking for him? Aren't you here to ask him for help? Mo Yufei sneered. She already knew that Luo Qingtong and the others had dealt with Lu Long and the others who had occupied their courtyard. Under such circumstances, they had slapped the dragon regiment in the face. How could they not be here to ask for Crown Prince Gij's help? In the heavenly hall of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, where the heaven grade students gathered, no other student force could compete with the dragon regiment except for Crown Prince Gij's Guiyuan regiment. If Luo Qingtong had the ability, she would say that she didn't need Crown Prince Gij's help. At that time, she would be punished by the dragon regiment. As Mo Yufei said this, she suddenly raised her head high. Luo Qingtong didn't bother to pay attention to her at all. She didn't come back to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to compete with a brainless girl like Mo Yufei. Yuan Hu and the others' words were enough to let her know the identity of the girl opposite her and why she was so against her. But it didn't matter. She wanted to humiliate herself. Then come on. In the Grand Qin Sacred Academy, how many open spears and hidden arrows were there? She had to face them all. Chapter 897. Lend me some people, and I'll give you a big gift in return. They must be absolutely trusted and powerful. They better not be too much weaker than you, Luo Qingtong said slowly. This was her first big gift since she came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. It was a little interest from Ma Chenyi for giving her medicine and protecting Su Xiao. Okay, Ma Chenyi agreed without hesitation. Luo Qingtong's charm in the square had completely conquered him. He didn't ask why Luo Qingtong wanted these people, whether it was to deal with the dragon regiment of the Heavenly Palace. Because of the dragon qi in his body, the people of the Guiyuan regiment were not suitable to fight with the people of the dragon regiment for the time being. But Ma Chenyi didn't care at all whether Luo Qingtong would lead his people to fight with the people of the dragon regiment, which would give Mo Chanxian an excuse to take action. After all, the people he wanted to lend to Luo Qingtong were all the backbone and top geniuses of the Guiyuan regiment. At that time, he couldn't get away with it even if he wanted to, but he still lent them. Hearing Ma Chenyi's words, the backbone of the Guiyuan regiment behind him suddenly called out worriedly, "Your Highness, it's okay. Listen to Luo Qingtong." Here, only Ma Chenyi knew the identity of Luo Qingtong best. She was a girl who was conferred the title of Princess of the Great Chu with her own ability. Ma Chenyi believed that she wouldn't cheat him. If he really made a wrong bet, then it was only a matter of time before he fought with Mo Chanxian. Ma Chenyi lowered his eyes slightly. He looked at his own body. The dragon qi in his body had recovered a little. After paying special attention to it these days, Ma Chenyi had believed that his previous feelings were not an illusion. His dragon qi hadn't been absorbed by anyone for a long time. This was a rare time for him to be relaxed and comfortable over the years. Even the dragon aura that had formed in his body slowly stretched its body and recovered some of its energy. Under such circumstances, Ma Chenyi couldn't help but suspect that Luo Qingtong had helped him when he met her in the Tianyu Empire. Perhaps it was a special technique that evil Dr. Ghost I had taught her. No matter what, Ma Chenyi accepted this favor. Therefore, when the other party said that he wanted to borrow people, he agreed without hesitation. Firstly, he believed in Luo Qingtong. Secondly, he wanted to return the favor. If Luo Qingtong could ask the demonic Dr. Ghost Eye, or even that person from the Black Field, to help him remove the hidden danger in his body, then so what if he handed over the entire Guiyuan group to the other party? However, Luo Qingtong may not be willing to take over his Guiyuan group. Ma Chenyi looked at the young girl's eyes, which were like clear spring water that washed away the sunset glow. Her eyes were filled with confidence and dominance. It seemed like the situation in the heavenly palace of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin was about to change. He just didn't know if those people on the Soaring Dragon list and Young Phoenix list were ready. Ma Chenyi looked at Luo Qingtong's eyes and smiled. On the other side, Mo Yufei stamped her feet and spoke. "Brother Crown Prince, how could you just agree to her? She definitely wants to borrow your people to deal with the people from the Dragon Group. Didn't you not want to be enemies with Brother Xian?" As she spoke, she raised her head angrily and pointed at Luo Qingtong. And you, Luo Qingtong, didn't you say that you didn't come to cling to my brother Crown Prince? What are you doing now? Borrowing people from him? Don't think that you don't want to ask my brother Crown Prince for help. A woman like you is fickle and fickle. First you didn't let go of Yuan Ma, and now you seduce my brother Crown Prince. As she spoke, she wanted to slap Luo Qingtong. Chapter 898. Mo Yufei's voice suddenly screamed. Luo Qingtong, you actually dare to hit me. She clutched her 5 fingers that had been broken in the middle, and the pain made her tear up instantly. Luo Qingtong was extremely ruthless. The bones in Mo Yufei's fingers were protruding. As a princess of the imperial family, Mo Yufei had never suffered like this. She screamed and cried at the same time. Luo Qingtong looked at her coldly. I forgot to tell you. She raised her hand to tidy up her sleeves and said indifferently, I hate it when people point their fingers at my head. The next time you do this, I'll break both your hands. And I guarantee that you won't be able to cure it. And Luo Qingtong said, and turned to leave with Su Xiao and the others. As for Mo Yufei, Ma Chen would naturally deal with her. Send your people to find me tomorrow. Remember to bring the information about the Dragon Regiment. I'll give you a big gift then. Don't thank me too much. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and waved as she spoke, without even turning her head. Okay. Ma Chen nodded in a low voice. Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei's voice was sharp. My fingers were broken by that bitch. How could you just stand there and watch? I'll definitely tell father when I go back. Mo Yufei was furious to the extreme. She had just desperately asked the people behind her to attack. But Ma Chen's people had all the people behind her under control. As her brother, Ma Chen actually sided with that bitch Luo Qingtong, and he still said that he didn't like her. She really should let Yuan Mo know what kind of person Luo Qingtong was. She should let him completely give up on Luo Qingtong. Even if he won the bet, he wouldn't want that woman. Your fingers were broken by yourself. I saw it with my own eyes. Ma Chen looked at her coldly. The elegant and weak young man, who was like a clear spring, straightened his back like a javelin and exuded a domineering aura. The aura of a king was fully displayed. In addition, put away your petty thoughts. Don't think about using the power of the royal family of the Empire of Qin to deal with Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, you know what I'm capable of. In addition, you don't need to lobby for Mo Changxian anymore. As long as his forces fall into my hands, I won't let any of them go. The dormant dragon of the Empire of Qin revealed his iron-blooded aura. After so many years, all the arrogance had all turned into gentleness and elegance. From the stormy waves of the storm to the soft willow village of fireworks in March. So that everyone forgot how arrogant he used to be when he looked down on the royal family of the Empire of Qin and was respected as the true dragon crown prince of the Empire of Qin. He was respected as a rare true dragon in the Empire of Qin. Now, he would spread his wings again and tell everyone that he was back. At the same time, thousands of miles away, a gorgeous and huge flying boat was rapidly flying towards the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At night, a huge black shadow silently and invisibly covered the sky above the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. In the next second, a figure suddenly rushed out of it. In an instant, it passed through the layers of protection covering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and appeared in the courtyard where Luo Qingtong and others lived. In the room, Luo Qingtong was sitting on the bed with her index finger tapping the edge of the bed. With her eyes slightly closed, she was thinking about her future plans in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At this moment, she seemed to sense something and open her eyes at once. Chapter 899. A pair of hands suddenly appeared in front of her, hugged her, and pressed her down on the bed. Luo Qingtong's eyes instantly turned cold. The color of blood in her eyes quickly rose. In an instant, The red color that seemed to pervade a clear spring quickly filled her entire pupils, turning into a color as bright as the morning glow and as bright as red jade. But soon, the red color in her eyes faded. Not for anything else. The feeling of those hands around her was too familiar. Luo Qingtong's eyes rolled, and then, as if she didn't know anything, she suddenly shouted in a low voice, "Who? Who is it? How dare you break in my room?" As she spoke, her body suddenly leaned back, and her head bumped into the man who appeared behind her. At the same time, she raised her right foot and kicked back. Bang! Luo Qingtong's foot was blocked by Yi Qianxian's raised leg. At the same time, he tilted his head to the side, avoiding the back of Luo Qingtong's head. He felt a burst of anger in his heart. This woman actually used her head to hit people, where she was hurt. Yi Qianxian raised his leg and hooked Luo Qingtong's back leg. He fiercely pressed her down and was about to take her to the bed. However, Luo Qingtong had already broken free from his arms at this time. Swish! With a wave of her sleeve, the bright lights in the room suddenly all went out. In the dark room, only the faint starlight and moonlight through the window edge could be seen. In such a dim light, Luo Qingtong's red dress was like a stream of light, sweeping towards the man behind her. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them exchanged blows in the room. Because he couldn't hurt her, Yi Qianxian suppressed his strength, completely restraining the wild and fierce aura in his body. He only used his physical strength to fight Luo Qingtong. Feeling the aura around the man, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She licked her lips and then fiercely used all her strength and fighting experience to attack Yi Qianxian. She wanted to see how far the gap between her and this man's strength was in this state. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them flew in the room. Both of them held back their strength. Yi Qianxian didn't use his real strength, and Luo Qingtong didn't use her bloody eyes and life and death sword. The two of them flew back and forth in the room, completely relying on their own strength to fight. Bang! Luo Qingtong's figure and Yi Qianxian's body. Her body suddenly climbed up the beam in the room, and then, like a snake, she shot out from under the beam. Bang! Yi Qianxian took her move, but his body was suddenly pulled back by the resistance of Luo Qingtong's sudden rush and fell back on the bed. Boom! Luo Qingtong's body suddenly flipped and sat on the man's body. Caught you, Luo Qingtong said. Sitting on Yi Qianxian's body, Luo Qingtong put her hand in the middle of the man's black hair, leaned over, and kissed the man's thin and sexy lips. Yi Qianxian's hand was holding Luo Qingtong's waist, and he was about to get her off his body. Chapter 900. You Seductress. The two people's lips separated after a deep kiss. The corners of their lips were still stained with the two people's liquid. After the two people's lips separated, a long, ambiguous silver thread was drawn out. It looked indescribably lively and very ambiguous. Does the Lord like a seductress like me? Luo Qingtong leaned over Yi Qianxian's chest, listening to the man's intense heartbeat. The curve of her lips was seductive. She raised her hand and gently stroked on the man's chest skin that was exposed under the clothes that she tore open. Yi Qianxian really couldn't bear it this time. His eyes were bloodshot. The next second, the hand that was holding Luo Qingtong's slender waist suddenly exerted force, pressing the person under his body. Oh no! Looking at the man's eyes that seemed to be burning with hot flames, wanting to burn her and him into flames, Luo Qingtong suddenly spat out her tongue. Played too much. She twisted her body. The moment Yi Qianxian turned over and pressed her under his body, she rolled to the side and wrapped herself and the bedding next to her into a thick, round ball. Yi Qianxian looked at this scene. His lungs were about to explode. Come out. He looked at the girl who was wrapped like a silkworm baby, only showing her head, and coldly said, Don't come out, just don't come out. Luo Qingtong listened to his voice that was a few pitches lower than usual. How could she be willing to come out? If she came out, wouldn't the little cutie fall into the big devil's claws and be eaten until there was nothing left? She said so, wrapping her small quilt even tighter. Looking at her wrapped like a ball and rolling around while talking, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth. This woman, his heart was a knot of anger. Then he hugged the person together with the quilt in his arms and coldly asked, "What's the matter with you, Si Huang? When I wasn't here, how many people did you provoke?" Who else could it be? Without the warm and fragrant woman in his arms, Yi Qianxian's rationality returned. He finally remembered why he had come here. This woman, in the time that he hadn't been in the true Spill continent, just how many people had she provoked? Other than Yu Si Huang, was there anyone else? Yi Qianxian felt a burst of anger when he thought about how this woman had interacted with another man in a place he didn't know about. She even made the other man come to the Black Field to look for her, saying that he had fallen in love with her, and even asked him to help find her and fulfill her wish. He suddenly leaned over and fiercely bit the girl's tender lips. Luo Qingtong was confused by his question for a while. She didn't react for a while and was bitten by him. She hissed softly. Before she could make a sound, Yi Qianxian angrily sucked on her lips again and kissed her deeply. Oh! Luo Qingtong was kissed by him until she couldn't breathe. At this time, she was in a miserable situation. She had wrapped herself up, and even her hands and feet were wrapped up. She couldn't even fight back, okay? This was simply a self-inflicted disaster. Luo Qingtong raised her head and endured Yi Qianxian's kiss. After a while, the man released her. She gasped for breath and said, "Wait a minute. Even if you want to die, you have to let me know why. Who is Yu Si Huang?" Luo Qingtong felt that this was simply an undeserved disaster. She didn't have any impression of this name at all. What was there to provoke? Besides this man, when did she provoke anyone else? Did she even have a chance? Chapter 901. You really didn't? Yi Qianxian coldly looked at the expression on her face, incomparably attentive. After confirming that her blankness was not an act, his complexion slightly eased a little, but he still wasn't completely appeased. He went to the Black Field, saying that he had fallen in love with you. He wanted me to help him. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. You said that you don't know him. Then why did he personally come to find you? He even said that he wanted to give you a thank you gift. This was what made Yi Qianxian the most angry and uneasy. His relationship with this woman also started when she saved him. If this woman really had a relationship with other men like she did with him, Yi Qianxian was afraid that he would not be able to control his emotions and would completely go crazy. Thank you gift? Luo Qingtong originally wanted to say that her reputation as the evil Dr. Ghost was widely known, and someone insisted on coming to find her, and she had no choice. But after listening to Yi Qianxian's words, the other party really seemed to have some relationship with her. But this name, she really had no impression of it. Luo Qingtong thought like this, and suddenly asked, "What is the identity of this Yu Si Huang?" Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong's puzzled face, and the depression in his heart gradually disappeared. He coldly snorted, "King of the Southern Territory, the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect." Luo Qingtong did not have any impression of the first and third identity. But the second one, she suddenly felt a little familiar. It can't be right. Was it really someone she knew? Luo Qingtong thought about it carefully. Then, she quickly recalled that when she was refining the youthful rejuvenation elixir for her grandfather in the mountains outside the main city of the Black region of Dechu, there was a demon-like youth who was chased into her array formation. When that Saint Realm cultivator who wanted to steal her elixir chased after the other party, he seemed to proudly say that the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands was about to die in his hands. Could it be him? The person you're talking about, does he have a particularly devilish appearance? Does he have a mole at the corner of his eye? Luo Qingtong asked. Upon hearing her words, Yi Qianxian's face, which had just improved, instantly darkened again. So you do know him, and save his life. Could it be that it was similar to when he first met her? Yi Qianxian's eyes instantly turned red when he recalled that Luo Qingtong had accidentally kissed him when she saved him. He raised his hand abruptly, intending to peel Luo Qingtong out of the cocoon wrapped in the quilt. Sigh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Listen to me. Luo Qingtong pressed hard on her cocoon shell and said, I did save him, but it's not what you think. It would be terrible if he was stripped out. Luo Qingtong quickly told the story of her encounter with Yu Si Huang, and in the end, she pecked the man's lips. That's how it is. I swear I don't have any relationship with him. Luo Qingtong never bothered to explain anything to anyone. But Yi Qianxian was different. She didn't want Yi Qianxian to misunderstand. What's more, the man's red eyes really made her somewhat distressed. Yi Qianxian's movements suddenly stopped. He looked at Luo Qingtong. Under the girl's gaze, he suddenly lowered his head and kissed Luo Qingtong's lips. He ruthlessly plundered deep. Until Luo Qingtong was somewhat out of breath, he released her. Chapter 902. But I didn't provoke him. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. Her lips were swollen from the kiss. She was wrapped up in the quilt like a silkworm and was obediently held in the man's arms. Umph. Yi Qianxian snorted coldly. Then he closed his eyes slightly and pressed the girl with precious eyes under his body. He hugged her and closed his eyes. Sleep. He rushed over from the black field and didn't sleep for a few days. Now that he got the whole story from Luo Qingtong, he immediately relaxed and felt sleepy. Luo Qingtong was suddenly pressed down by the man's entire body. She looked up and saw that Yi Qianxian's eyes were dark. How many days had this man not slept? Could it be that he didn't sleep on the way here from the Black Region's main city? Because of her? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, her heart suddenly thumped heavily. It was rare for her to settle down. She didn't want to wake Yi Qianxian up and just want to sleep with the man wrapped in the quilt. Luo Qingtong slept all the way until dawn the next day. When she woke up, the quilt wrapped tightly around her body had been removed, and she was lying comfortably on the bed. It was obvious who did it. However, Yi Qianxian wasn't in the room. If her lips weren't still swollen, Luo Qingtong would have thought that she was dreaming last night. Thinking that Yi Qianxian actually rushed to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin just because the other party said that he liked her, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. That man cared about her so much. It felt good to be in someone's heart, especially when the other party was the man she liked. Luo Qingtong was in a very good mood. At the same time, in the Grand Supreme Dean's residence, he spat out a mouthful of tea after hearing the man in front of him explain the purpose of his visit. What did you say? The Grand Supreme Dean looked at the man sitting in front of him in shock. Ming Zun, you're joking, right? His eyes suddenly bulged. I never joke. Even if it was a joke, it wouldn't be with him. Yi Qianxian looked at him coldly. The Grand Supreme Dean looked at Yi Qianxian, speechless. Damn it. He was woken up from his bed early in the morning. Before he could get angry, he realized that the person who came was actually Ming Zun of the Blackfield. Not only that, the other party even told him to arrange an identity for him to stay in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Arrange an identity and stay in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. My God, my earth. If it were you, would you believe it? Of course he wouldn't believe it. My lord, this joke wasn't funny at all. Please be magnanimous and let this old man go. The Grand Supreme Dean looked at Yi Qianxian with a bitter face. You say you're a dignified Ming Zun. Why did you come to the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin? The people in the Holy Court, including himself, weren't enough for him to abuse a few times. This god of plagues must not be accepted. Absolutely must not be accepted. I just want to stay in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. You name the conditions, you arrange the identity. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. After this incident with Yu Si Huang, he really didn't feel at ease letting Luo Qingtong stay in a place he couldn't see. Who knows what kind of people she would provoke? As Luo Qingtong's strength increased, her sharpness became more and more difficult to hide. Who knows how many people would be attracted to her? Yi Qianxian didn't want to strangle her light and wings, but he also didn't want her to be taken away by others. Chapter 903. Are you for real? The Grand Supreme Dean's eyes widened even more. They were about to fall out. Damn, Yi Qianming's words didn't seem to be a joke. Could it be because of the evil doctor? He thought of Luo Qingtong and then the latter's engagement with Yuan Ma. Then he had a toothache. Yi Qianming didn't come for this, right? Then he really had to thank the other party for not tearing down the Empire of Qin Holy Courtyard. As the Grand Supreme Dean thought of this, his eyes suddenly rolled and he suddenly laughed. Okay, then I'll arrange it for you. An idea flashed through his mind, and he felt a burst of joy in his heart. But you have to promise that you must listen to my arrangements. Otherwise, even if you tear down the Empire of Qin Holy Courtyard, I won't agree. Yi Qianming coldly narrowed his eyes and looked at the Grand Supreme Dean. Although the latter felt a little guilty, he thought that if Yi Qianming really wanted to tear down the Empire of Qin Holy Courtyard, he would have done so long ago. There must be a reason why he didn't do it now. Most likely it was because of Luo Qingtong. In this way, what was he afraid of? Thinking of this, he suddenly straightened his chest and confronted Yi Qianming. Sure enough, after confronting him for a while, Yi Qianming nodded with a cold face. Okay, I'll listen to your arrangements. But you can't be far away from Luo Qingtong. This was Yi Qianming's only bottom line. As for the rest, the Grand Supreme Dean wouldn't dare to torture him too much. Good. Of course. I promise that the identity I've arranged for you is absolutely convenient. You can go and find her whenever you want. Anytime, anywhere. The Grand Supreme Dean said with a smile. This time he made a lot of money. At the same time, in the Guiyuan Society, a group of top heaven grade students, who were also the backbone of the Guiyuan Society, gathered in front of Ma Chenyi. They looked at the youth with a worried expression and said, Your Highness, isn't your decision too hasty? Luo Qingtong asked you to borrow people. She must be going to find trouble with the Dragon Regiment. Although Princess Yufei's words are not pleasant, and there is suspicion of targeting Luo Qingtong, what she said is true. Moreover, with your current physical condition, our Guiyuan Society is indeed not suitable to fight with the Dragon Regiment. Is Luo Qingtong really worth you doing this? Just like Mo Yufei, no one in the Guiyuan clique took Luo Qingtong's words to heart. Borrow some people from the Guiyuan clique to return a big gift to Mo Chenai. From their point of view, Luo Qingtong wanted to borrow people from Mo Chenai, and the people she wanted to borrow were the core members of the Gue Yuan clan. She wanted to use the strength of the Gue Yuan clan and Mo Chenya's reputation to make the Dragon Group retreat and not dare to find trouble with them. Returning a big gift? That was just a pretentious act. But Ma Chenyi actually agreed to her request. Luo Qingtong did this to avoid their trouble. But King Wu would immediately seize the opportunity to attack His Highness and the Guiyuan Society. Since the other party named his Force Dragon Regiment, it was clear what his intention was. He was definitely targeting His Highness. Okay, you don't have to say any more. Luo Qingtong's ability is not something you can imagine. Ma Chenyi had already confirmed that his dragon energy was indeed slowly recovering. He believed in Luo Qingtong. Even if he had to face the Dragon Regiment and Mo Chenxian, he would not hesitate. What's more, what Luo Qingtong said before, others might not believe, but he did. You just have to go and see Luo Qingtong. Her orders are my orders. Chapter 904. At the same time, at the Dragon Regiment's base, a burly man sat in the hall, looking at Mo Yufei, who was full of anger and hatred. He laughed loudly and said, Princess, do you mean that Luo Qingtong asked the Gue Yuan clan to make trouble for our Dragon Regiment? The one who spoke was King Wu Chunxian's confidant, Tong Hu. When Mo Chunxian was not in the Dragon Regiment, he was in charge of everything. Now that he heard Mo Yufei's words, he immediately laughed and said, Okay, good. We have long wanted to find a chance to fight with the Gue Yuan clan. Especially King Wu. He had long wanted to fight with the Crown Prince. Now he finally had the chance. His voice was sinister. Mo Yufei snorted and said, I also think that Luo Qingtong is overestimating herself. She has bewitched Brother Crown Prince. When they come to make trouble in the afternoon, don't be merciful. That Luo Qingtong, you must teach her a lesson. Thinking of how Luo Qingtong broke her finger in front of the Gui Yuan clan, Mo Yufei was angry, especially when Ma Chenyi did not allow her to use the power of the royal family of the Empire of Qin to make a move on Luo Qingtong. Fine, she did not need it. Luo Qingtong came to make trouble for the Dragon Regiment. Could she let the Dragon Regiment fight back? Thinking of this, the sneer on Mo Yufei's face became more comfortable. Fine. Haha. Tiger Cub burst into laughter. Mo Yufei's request, in his opinion, was a small matter. As long as that Luo Qingtong really dares to bring people from the Gui Yuan clan to make trouble, I will break her legs and throw her to your highness to vent your anger. How about that? Tong Hu looked at Mo Yufei and said, I think if King Wu was here, he would be very willing to do so. That Luo Qingtong slapped their dragon regiment's face the moment she came back. This time, they could make an example out of her and gain Princess Yufei's favor. Why not? Moreover, the other party had helped the Grand Supreme Dean's faction to suppress the power of the Holy Institute's Elders Guild, which had greatly infuriated His Highness King Wu. If the other party really dared to come, he would definitely make the other party walk in and crawl out. Sure, then I'll be waiting. Mo Yufei smiled with satisfaction and held her head high with a haughty face. In a courtyard, after Luo Qingtong finished washing up, she called Su Xiao and the others over. Yesterday, I asked you to sort out the list of resources that the Dragon Group snatched from you. Have you sorted it out yet? She sat in the main hall and looked at the people who came in. It's done. Su Xiao nodded, then looked at Luo Qingtong and said in a low voice, But boss, are we really going to do that next? Thinking of the second thing that Luo Qingtong instructed them to do yesterday, Su Xiao, Ling Tianhan, and the others looked a little bitter. They thought that with Luo Qingtong's personality, she would definitely not let this matter rest. But they did not expect that Luo Qingtong would actually do this. This was too big of a gamble. Their boss was really too domineering. If they really did as she said, the students of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin would be in an uproar. Boss, aren't we playing a little too big? Ling Tianhan looked at Luo Qingtong and asked, Too big? How can it be? Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently and said, They hadn't seen a bigger one yet. Chapter 905. Go and do it. Yes. Su Xiao and the others responded and left. Each of them went to do what they were in charge of. Soon, everyone in the Saint Court of the Empire of Qin learned of a shocking matter. That was Luo Qingtong, who had come with her might and humiliated the first elder and the people from the Sacred Academy's Elder Guild on the square and forced them to lower their heads to her, and the Grand Principal's faction had done something big again. She announced to everyone in the Saint Court of the Empire of Qin that she was going to establish her own faction, the Heavenly Demon Group, and recruit members. However, this was not the most important thing. If it was just this kind of person, everyone would not be so shocked. Most importantly, she announced to the public that anyone who joined the Heavenly Demon Group would have all the resources that the Dragon Group had taken away from them, and she would take them back in double. As soon as this announcement was made, the entire Saint Court of the Empire of Qin was in an uproar. Many people knew that Luo Qingtong and the Dragon Group were not on good terms. Firstly, the person she wanted to break off the engagement with, Yuan Ma, was a key member of the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group and was highly regarded by His Highness King Wu. Secondly, she had slapped the Saint Court's Elder Guild and the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group in the face. Not only did she help the Grand Supreme Dean's faction to suppress the Saint Court's Elder Guild, but she also ignored the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group's order and kicked out Lu Long and the others who occupied their courtyard. Although the main reason she did this was to slap her fiancé, Yuan Ma, in the face. However, this order was given by the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group. Luo Qingtong's actions were not giving the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group any face and did not take them seriously. Everyone guessed that Luo Qingtong would definitely be dealt with by the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group. However, who would have thought that before the Heavenly Palace's dragon group could find trouble with Luo Qingtong, the latter would directly go against the Heavenly Palace's dragon group? Anyone who joined the Heavenly Demon group could ask for back the resources stolen by the Heavenly Palace's dragon group, and they could ask for it back in double. Was Luo Qingtong joking, or had her head been clamped by a door? During the years of King Wu's rise, the Heavenly Palace's dragon group had recruited the heaven-ranked students from the Empire of Qin's Heavenly Palace. They had plundered countless resources. That was an astronomical figure. Luo Qingtong actually said that she could help people get it back, and even double it. Wasn't this King crazy? Everyone watched as Su Xiaoxiao and the others ran up and down. They looked at them as if they were looking at idiots. In the Sacred Institute, there were all kinds of mocking voices everywhere. Oh my God, do you think this Luo Qingtong is stupid? Does she think that she's invincible in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin just because she's a martial emperor? No matter how talented you are, you still need to be able to grow. How strong was the Crown Prince in the past? Isn't he still stagnant now? Even the Gui Yuan group didn't dare to say that they could ask the Dragon group for the resources stolen from them. This Luo Qingtong is really daring. Huh, you don't know, right? Someone said gloatingly. I heard that the Crown Prince's Gui Yuan group might have wanted to make the Dragon group unhappy. So when the Dragon group's people helped Yuanmo deal with the Ling siblings, he helped them a few times. Then, that Luo Qingtong brought people to find him. She said that she wanted to borrow people from the Crown Prince, and they were the core members of the Gui Yuan group. Today, she's going to cause trouble for the Gui Yuan group. I think that's why Luo Qingtong is so confident. What a pity. She just arrived at the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. She probably doesn't know that the Crown Prince's Gui Yuan group is no longer the same as before. Who knows how badly she'll be slapped in the face when the time comes for her to intimidate others. Chapter 906. The Empire of Qin's holy court was filled with such voices. There were even people who gathered their friends and went to the place where Su Xiaoxiao and the others were recruiting members of the Heavenly Demon Group, saying that they wanted to sign up. Most of these people were just here to join in the fun. They were here because Luo Qingtong promised that she could help them get back their resources several times over. Some of them were secretly scheming in their hearts. After all, Luo Qingtong was the one who said it. They would first join her Heavenly Demon Group, and then force her to fulfill her promise. When the Dragon Group started to take their revenge, they would take the resources and leave. This way, they would not offend the Dragon Group, and they would get a large amount of resources. How great was that? These people thought so, and immediately shouted that they wanted to sign up. However, unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong did not seem to know that these people had bad intentions, and did not reject any of them. However, she had a request. These people could not leave the group for 3 days. Otherwise, they would not get anything. The rights to the resources that were taken away by the Dragon Group would also belong to Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon Group. When they heard this condition, they were immediately overjoyed. This Luo Qingtong was really stupid, right? Wasn't this simple? Wasn't it just 3 days of not leaving the group? That was a piece of cake. Not to mention 3 days. Even if it was 30 days, it would not matter. After all, it was Luo Qingtong and the others who were going up against the Dragon Group. When the time came, they would just have to do the work and not put in any effort. They thought that the Dragon Group would not deliberately make things difficult for them. When the time came and they left, they would get a large amount of resources and they would not have to offend the Dragon Group. How great was that? As they thought, they quickly signed the agreement and fought to be the first to join Luo Qingtong's Heavenly Demon Group. At the same time, they were laughing at Luo Qingtong's brain. This was completely giving them the resources to use. Everyone was very pleased with themselves. Su Xiaoxiao and the others were very angry. Boss, these people have bad intentions. Why do we recruit them? Yuan Little Overlord and the others could not understand Luo Qingtong's actions. They could understand why their boss wanted to create a force. They could understand why the Dragon Guild wanted to attack them. But to recruit these people, they couldn't understand at all, and he even promised to help them get their resources back. And it was double. Boss Yuan Hu and the others were worried. They believed in Luo Qingtong, but this time the stakes were too high. If they were careless and overturned the boat, then they would all be finished. Especially Boss, they looked at Luo Qingtong. I'm fine. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Naturally, she had her considerations when she said those words. This included the establishment of a force. Yuan Hu and the others didn't understand yet, but they would know later. All of you just have to do is watch. Don't worry. The person who can take advantage of me without paying any price hasn't been born yet. Luo Qingtong said as her eyes swept over those who were happy and thought they had taken advantage of the situation. None of them knew. If she gave it to them, they could have it. If she didn't give it to them, they couldn't take it away. These people wanted to take advantage of her, but she didn't know who was taking advantage of who. As she thought, she asked Yuan Hu and the others, "Oh, right, did Sima Ju go to the Dragon Group?" "Yes. He should have reached the Dragon Group by now." "Okay." Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile with an indescribable evil charm. Chapter 907. Bang! Just as Luo Qingtong finished her words, a loud bang came from outside the Dragon Group's courtyard. Sima Ju, after the Heaven Grade students of the Dragon Regiment who were guarding the inner courtyard rushed out of the courtyard, they were shocked to see a thin and slender figure appear in front of them. Outside the courtyard, the Dragon Group's students were lying on the ground. Sima Ju's foot stepped forward fiercely. Under his foot was a plaque that he had just smashed down from the entrance of the Dragon Group's courtyard. Bang! That dragon word was smashed into pieces by Sima Ju's foot. Bastard! Sima Ju, you're courting death. Seeing this scene, the group of heaven-ranked students from the Dragon Group were instantly enraged. They rushed towards Sima Ju. However, when they were halfway there, the first few people to rush to the front suddenly screamed, "Ah! Be careful! There's poison." Only now did they notice that Sima Ju's exposed skin was already suffused with a dark green color. 10,000 poison body. Sima Ju's surroundings were filled with various poisonous auras. Swoosh! Taking advantage of their bodies and movements that suddenly slowed down due to being poisoned, Sima Ju's figure suddenly pulled out and rushed out. As he flew, he shouted coldly, "Under the orders of my boss, I'm here to give an ultimatum to the Dragon Group. Before noon today, the Dragon Group must return double the resources that were stolen from us, or else you'll have to bear the consequences. Every night for 2 hours, we'll double the resources. I hope that you Dragon Group members will behave yourselves." Bastard! Tong Hu rushed out of the courtyard after receiving the news. Sima Ju's figure had already disappeared in front of everyone. The characteristics of the myriad poison's body were enough to allow him to calmly retreat from the Dragon Corps. A bunch of trash. Looking at the Dragon Group's signboard that had been trampled to pieces, Tiger Cub's face was filled with rage. He lifted his leg and kicked the nearest Dragon Group member, causing him to vomit blood and fly a few meters away. "Pass down my order, Dragon Group members gather. I'd like to see how Luo Qingtong can force us to bear the consequences." Tong Hu's expression was extremely ferocious. That damned Luo Qingtong. She was simply courting death. This Dragon Regiment plaque not only represented the dignity of the Dragon Regiment, but also the face of His Highness King Wu. He was kicked just like that. The members of the Dragon Group would never let this matter rest. He wanted to see how long the Gui Yuan clique could protect her. While Tong Hu was fuming, the Sky Hall of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was in an uproar because of Sima Ju's actions. Oh my God! Everyone who heard the news was dumbfounded. Was this Luo Qingtong crazy? Everyone had the same thought in their minds. Previously, he had shamelessly boasted that he would ask for double the resources from the Dragon Group. This time, he actually kicked down the Dragon Regiment's plaque. This was the same as trampling on the faces of the Dragon Regiment and the Martial King. Luo Qingtong is finished. Yes, There must be something wrong with this woman's brain. Trampling on people's faces is comparable to life and death. Not to mention arrogant and despotic people like the Dragon Regiment and the Martial King. Does she think that she'll be fine with the protection of the Crown Prince? The Sky Hall was filled with discussions. Chapter 908. MMP. If they knew that Luo Qingtong would be crazy enough to do such a thing, they would rather die than join the Heavenly Demon Group. Initially, these people thought that they were only joining the Heavenly Demon Group and not going against the Dragon Group, so they did not mind joining. It's all right, but now it's different. Luo Qingtong directly trampled on the Dragon Group's face. The entire Heavenly Demon Group will be in trouble. If they continue to stay here, even if they don't do anything, the Dragon Group will still hold a grudge against them. Thinking of this, the group hurriedly left the group. As for the thoughts of plotting against Luo Qingtong, don't think about it. How can resources be more important than yourself? When Yuan Mo heard this news, he almost crushed his favorite decoration into pieces. Luo Qingtong, what are you trying to do? His heart was filled with anger. At the same time, in Luo Qingtong's courtyard, a group of Gui Yuan Group experts who came under Ma Chenye's orders stood up with a bang when they heard this news. Luo Qingtong, what are you trying to do? The group looked at Luo Qingtong with displeasure. They were originally very dissatisfied with Luo Qingtong's help. This time, seeing that Luo Qingtong did not restrain herself and went against the Dragon Group unscrupulously, they were even angrier. Luo Qingtong was basically roasting the Crown Prince and the Gui Yuan Group on a fire. She did not know that with the Crown Prince's current condition, he was not fit to fight against the Martial King. This Luo Qingtong was too reckless. They thought that Luo Qingtong invited them to deal with the Dragon Group, and the group of Gui Yuan Group members were anxious and angry. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent and did not look at them. She invited these people over this time to give Ma Chenye a chance to return some interest. If these people thought that she invited them to help, then they were gravely mistaken. What I want to do is my business. In short, I won't ask you to deal with the Dragon Group. When Luo Qingtong said this, the Gui Yuan Group members did not agree with her. With Luo Qingtong's current strength and no forces around her, if she didn't borrow the strength of the Gui Yuan Group, who else could she borrow strength from? Could it be that she alone could deal with the Dragon Group's members? Make them bow. What a joke. However, since Luo Qingtong said so, they were happy and relaxed. It doesn't matter if Luo Qingtong said it out of politeness or out of anger. Since she said so, even if they just stood by and watched, His Highness the Crown Prince wouldn't blame them. Everyone's to think, so to speak. Luo Qingtong glanced at them and didn't say anything. She just flipped through the information they brought. Time slowly passed. Soon, noon arrived. Let's go. Luo Qingtong suddenly closed the information in her hand. The bloody light in her eyes flashed as she got up and walked out. Go. Where are we going? The Gui Yuan Group members' hearts tightened. Naturally, we're going to a place that can make the Dragon Group bow. Luo Qingtong said and flicked her long sleeve. The girl's figure was like a willow branch. With a swish, she rushed out. Humph! Su Xiao and the others looked at the Gui Yuan Group members and snorted. They immediately followed. The Gui Yuan Group members frowned. They looked at each other and followed with a puzzled face. Chapter 909. On this day, the students of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin had a very colorful day. Luo Qingtong had almost single-handedly set off a storm in the Sky Hall of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. Everyone's eyes were focused on the Sky Hall's Dragon Group and Luo Qingtong. As soon as the latter moved, someone immediately knew. Immediately, a group of people who were watching the show followed. Wow, the Gui Yuan Group is really here. Could it be that Luo Qingtong's confidence is really due to the Gui Yuan Group? Are His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness the King of Wu really going to fall out? Looking at the Gui Yuan Group behind Luo Qingtong, the surrounding heaven grade students who were watching the show instantly widened their eyes. Oh my God! His Highness the Crown Prince couldn't have really fallen in love with Luo Qingtong, right? Such a big matter was actually decided by her willfulness. Thinking that the Gui Yuan group could really go against the Dragon group, everyone's hearts were suddenly filled with excitement. However, as Luo Qingtong's figure continued to move forward, everyone was puzzled. Everyone was puzzled. This wasn't the way to the Dragon group's courtyard. Did Luo Qingtong take the wrong path, or, while everyone was thinking, Luo Qingtong's figure turned and appeared at a special place? The Sky Hall's training ground. Looking at the towering door, everyone was extremely puzzled. What was Luo Qingtong doing here? This was the place where the Sky Hall students usually trained and learned from each other. At the same time, it was also the place where all kinds of cultivation facilities were located. Could it be that Luo Qingtong was going to challenge the Dragon Group's people here? What a joke. Not to mention that it was a battle between two forces. The victory or defeat of one or two people was useless. Even if there was, it had to be a battle between His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness the King of Wu. Only then could it determine the success or failure of a force. What was the use of Luo Qingtong coming here, even if she defeated the Dragon Group's people? Could this force the Dragon Group's people to bow their heads? This was simply a joke. On the other hand, the Gui Yuan group behind Luo Qingtong suddenly remembered that Su Xiaoxiao and the others' resources were snatched away by the Dragon Group's people because they threatened Su Xiaoxiao and Su Xiaoxiao not to have access to the cultivation facilities. Could it be that Luo Qingtong wanted to give them a taste of their own medicine? However, the Dragon Group had the advantage in numbers, so they were able to use such a method to threaten Yuan Hu and the others. Even if they added them, and the others' group's people's people would not be enough. Why did they come here? Moreover, this method had to be used consistently in order to force the other party to submit. The Dragon Group's people's people Luo and the Dragon Group of Wu would not to die, they would retaliate. What the hell was Luo Qingtong doing? The Gui Yuan Group's Luo Lin? Luo's people, Luo Qingtong, S's Xian's. Luo Qingtong walked all the way to the depths of the training ground. This Sky Hall's training ground was extremely large. It was another space that was opened up. There were various training facilities and equipment for different kinds of students. The deeper the training ground, the better the training effect and the higher the level. Luo Qingtong had long known from the information brought by the Gui Yuan Group's people that there was a place where the Dragon Group's higher-ups, King of Wu, Imo, Chan Xian, and other top experts often came. It was a necessary place for them to train and enhance their strength. Crazy Battle Cave. Luo Qingtong's figure stopped. In front, there were various Dragon Group's people. This place was usually occupied by the Dragon Group's people. Under such circumstances, even if the training ground's effect was very good, the others generally could not even get close to it. Except for the top few people on the Soaring Dragon list and Young Phoenix list, the others could not even think about entering. Chapter 9-10. Aren't they from the Gui Yuan group? Some of the Heaven grade students with higher status in the Dragon group glanced at the people from the Gui Yuan group and gasped. Oh my god, they were the core members of the Gui Yuan group. They were the top Heaven grade students in the Sky Hall and ranked in the top 100 of the Soaring Dragon roll. The people from a Dragon group stared at them with wide eyes. They couldn't understand why the people from the Gui Yuan group had come to Berserker's Cave. This was the private land that the Dragon group had cordoned off. Were the people from the Gui Yuan group prepared to start a war with the Dragon group? Thinking of this, the members of the Dragon group took a deep breath and gathered together. They looked at Luo Qingtong's group warily and unkindly. This is the training ground of the Dragon group. You people from the Gui Yuan group should leave now. Luo Qingtong did not care about them and walked straight ahead. Seeing her actions, the people from the Gui Yuan group felt their hearts tighten. At the same time, they were very angry. Luo Qingtong said that she wouldn't let them fight against the people from the Dragon group. Wasn't she the one who brought them here to cause trouble for the Dragon regiment? Not only did the people from the Gui Yuan group think so, But the other people who came to watch the show also thought so. It was obvious that Luo Qingtong wanted to use the power of the Gui Yuan group to take revenge for the people from the Dragon Group. Was she preparing to snatch the territory of the Dragon Group? If that was the case, the Gui Yuan group and the Dragon Group would definitely fight. The Crown Prince could no longer stay out of it. Everyone thought so. Seeing that the atmosphere was about to explode, the people from the Dragon Group quickly left to find Tong Hu and the others. At this moment, Luo Qingtong approached the teacher guarding Berserker's Cave and said, "Teacher, I want to enter Berserker's Cave. Line up." The teacher didn't even turn his head. He turned a blind eye to the hostile scene around him. The Holy Court of the Empire of Qin encouraged students to fight with each other to increase their strength and combat experience. As long as no one died, the teachers wouldn't care. "I have priority." Luo Qingtong looked at the teacher and said. When she had just returned to the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, the great elder of the Holy Court said that as long as she won, she could use the training facilities of the Holy Court, regardless of level or time limit. Compared to the other students, she had complete priority. The moment Luo Qingtong's words came out, the teacher's head immediately. Seeing the girl in front of him, a look of surprise flashed across his face. Luo Qingtong. The Holy Court teachers of the Holy Court had already heard Holy Court. After all, she had defeated the first elder of the Sacred Academy and the Elders' Council. Who wouldn't be curious about such a girl? Moreover, Luo Qingtong was not weak and had great talent. She was obviously one of the top geniuses of the Saint Academy. USSS? TT. Everyone knew that the girl had won the bet with the Holy Court's great elder. No one could deny the decision made by the Holy Court's great elder on behalf of the Holy Court's elders. The teacher immediately gave a number plate to Luo Qingtong. Just before Luo Qingtong and the others arrived, a middle-level member of the Dragon Group came out. Before the next person could enter, Luo Qingtong took the number plate and entered. "You guys wait here." Chapter 9:11. Until Luo Qingtong's figure disappeared in front of them, the people around the Berserker's Cave didn't react to what was going on. Especially the people of the Dragon Regiment. Luo Qingtong brought the top powerhouses of the Gui Yuan Regiment aggressively just to enter the Berserker's Cave. The people of the Gui Yuan Regiment and the crowd of onlookers who came to watch the show couldn't accept it in their hearts. F***CK. What happened to forcing the people of the Dragon Regiment to bow their heads? What kind of play was Luo Qingtong singing? What did she want to do in the Berserker's Cave? Did she think that if she went in to cultivate, she would be invincible in the world and scare the people of the Dragon Regiment into bowing their heads and apologizing to her and returning the plundered resources? Everyone thought so, and suddenly you stare at each other. I stared at you. I stared at you. I stared at you for a while. They didn't know what Luo Qingtong was doing. Some people have already laughed loudly. They said that Luo Qingtong was boasting too much, and now she had no choice but to hide in the Berserker's Cave and not dare to come out. Su Xiao and the others listened to a burst of anger in their hearts. They absolutely believe in Luo Qingtong. It was absolutely impossible for the boss to speak without thinking. If she said that she wanted the people of the Dragon Regiment to bow their heads and bear the consequences, then she would definitely do it. Thinking of the various miracles of Luo Qingtong since they met her, Su Xiao and the others simply ignored the ridicule. They firmly believed that when Luo Qingtong came out of the Berserker's Cave, these people would know what it meant to be slapped in the face. It's just that what was the boss going to do? Just when everyone was making all kinds of guesses and doubts, Luo Qingtong had already started fighting in the Berserker's Cave. Boom, boom, boom. One after another, ferocious beasts rushed towards Luo Qingtong from all directions. The so-called Berserker's Cave was a place to train students' actual combat ability. In this place, there was only fighting. In the gloomy cavern, all kinds of ferocious beasts formed by the fluctuations of the formation pounced on the trainee in the center from all directions according to the level of strength and difficulty chosen by the students. Students wouldn't die here, but they would be seriously injured. When Luo Qingtong entered, she chose the normal difficulty. The ferocious beasts she faced were only at the peak of the martial king realm. After all, she didn't come here to train herself. Bang, bang, bang. Looking at the ferocious beasts pouncing towards her from all directions, Luo Qingtong suddenly took a step forward. In the next second, the sword in her hand flashed, and the wind and thunder sword appeared in her hand. She instantly attacked. Boom! The girl's eyes flickered with blood-red light. In an instant, her entire body shot out. Those peak Martial King realm ferocious beasts that were charging at her were not her doing at all. In an instant, Luo Qingtong tore a huge hole in the airtight encirclement of ferocious beasts. Under such circumstances, the blood-red light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered to the extreme. In her sight, the ferocious beasts formed by the fluctuations of the formation instantly turned into invisible auras when the energy dissipated. They were led to a certain place by a force. Found it. Seeing the direction of the fog, Luo Qingtong's figure flashed out of the huge hole in the encirclement of ferocious beasts in an instant and followed the fog straight forward. Chapter 9:12. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered as she rushed forward quickly. Along the way, no matter how many peak Martial King realm ferocious beasts were transformed and rushed towards her, they were all sent flying by her. Soon, her figure appeared at the place where the invisible aura had completely disappeared. Looking at the stone wall in front of her, which seemed to be no different from any other place, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. Bang! She swept her sword and instantly killed all the ferocious beasts that had rushed over behind her. In the next second, she raised her hand, and the aura of the badge was instantly sent into the core of the stone wall. If anyone was there, they would discover that the aura of the badge belonged to the dragon group. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered as the stone wall in front of her was completely analyzed by her eyes. The core of the stone wall was revealed. Luo Qingtong's finger pointed at it without any hindrance. Buzz! As Luo Qingtong pointed at it, the huge formation that was completely embedded in the stone wall seemed to be enraged and revealed itself with a bang. In an instant, with a bang, the level of the ferocious beasts that were transformed in the surroundings changed. The figures of the sacred beasts were all revealed. However, Luo Qingtong knew what would happen before she sent the aura of the Dragon Group's badge. Before the formation was enraged, she had already left Berserk Battle's cave. Swish! Her figure disappeared in Berserk Battle's cave, leaving only the enraged formation and the figures of the sacred beasts that were constantly revealed. Okay. After doing all this, Luo Qingtong clapped her hands, put away the wind and thunder sword, and stepped out of the door of Berserk Battle's cave. Outside, the people of the Dragon Group were wantonly mocking Su Xiao and the others. Yo, you said that we would be responsible for the consequences. Is this what you mean? Ha! I think that your boss Luo Qingtong won't dare to come out of Berserk Battle's cave today, right? Shameless. Yes. Ha! The group of Dragon Corps members laughed loudly. From her point of view, Luo Qingtong had completely gone overboard with her boasting. She didn't know how to end the situation. What heavenly evil group? I think we should just call them Big Talk Team, Trash Team. A group of people mocked loudly. All right, didn't your boss give us an ultimatum? I don't think you should give any ultimatum. Go to our Dragon Group's base and kneel down. Maybe I won't be beaten up so badly. Huh. The group of people laughed wantonly. At this moment, Luo Qingtong stepped out of Mad Warrior's cave. Really? Sure. I will remember this kneel for you. Luo Qingtong said as her gaze swept over the group of people from the Dragon Group who were laughing the loudest. In addition, the resources you need to return will be increased tenfold. Xiao, remember them. Luo Qingtong said. Ha! The people from the Dragon Group heard this and laughed even more wantonly. Luo Qingtong, are you crazy? 10 times? I'll give you 20 times. Do you have the ability to take it? The group of people laughed loudly. I've seen boastful people, but I've never seen such shameless boastful people. Ha! Let's go. We won't lower ourselves to the same level as a lunatic. Brothers, train yourselves. Let's see what our Luo Qingtong and Boss Qingtong can do to us. The group of people from the dragon group ridiculed as they re-entered Mad Warrior's cave according to the previous cue. Chapter 9:13. Bang! A middle-level member of the dragon group who had just stepped into the Berserker's cave was blasted out in an instant. He fell to the ground with a thud and fainted with a scream. Captain! Seeing this scene, the members of the dragon group were stunned and then hurriedly rushed over. The surrounding people were also surprised. Even the members of the Guei Yuan group, who came with Luo Qingtong and were ruthlessly ridiculed by the members of the dragon group, were stunned. What's going on? Everyone looked at the member of the dragon group who was ejected out of the Berserker's cave in surprise. Wasn't this too strange? This situation, didn't it only happen when you overestimated yourself and challenged a training difficulty that was much higher than your own strength? And looking at the other party's appearance, everyone looked at the member of the dragon group who was lying on the ground. Almost all the bones in his body were broken, and his whole body was dripping with blood. What kind of difficulty did he choose to be beaten up like this as soon as he stepped in? Was this member of the dragon group crazy with joy? Did he choose the wrong difficulty when he chose it? Everyone thought so. However, the following situation was completely beyond their expectations. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the members of the dragon group were blasted out of the Berserker's cave. All of them were seriously injured and on the verge of death. Their appearance was more miserable than the other. At this time, it was impossible to say that it was a coincidence. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. They didn't know how she did it. Could it be that Luo Qingtong could change the Holy Quartz cultivation array? But how is this possible? That array was set up by experts of the Sage Realm, or even above the Sage Realm. With Luo Qingtong's strength, how could she change it? In fact, Luo Qingtong indeed didn't have the ability to change the array. But she didn't need to change it. She only needed to find the core of the array and then poke the aura of the dragon group's badge on it to anger the core of the array. In this way, as long as the members of the dragon group who carried the aura of the badge entered the array, they would be treated as intruders and killed at the highest level of difficulty. The dragon group's people used the excuse of not letting Su Xiao come into contact with the cultivation facilities to threaten Yuanhu and the others to take out the cultivation resources. Luo Qingtong naturally wanted them to have a taste of this. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. As I said, if you don't return the resources you've plundered afternoon, you'll have to bear the consequences. Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently. Now, do you know that I'm not joking? Even the mentors of the Saint Academy couldn't find any clues about what Luo Qingtong had done. Did the dragon group think that they were the only ones who knew how to play dirty? Luo Qingtong sneered coldly. Let's go. On to the next one. The Berserker's Cave was just the beginning. Today, Luo Qingtong was going to walk through the entire training grounds of the Sky Palace. Let the people of the dragon group not even think about touching a single cultivation facility. By the way, leave one of you here. You can start taking over the territory of the Berserker's Cave. Before leaving, Luo Qingtong said indifferently to the Guei Yuan groups, people who had followed her here. At this moment, they were completely dumbfounded. What? The people of the Guei Yuan group had long been stunned by Luo Qingtong's means. Chapter 9:14. But inside, weren't they unable to go in? Their gazes swept past the people from the Dragon Regiment who were lying on the ground with serious injuries. That's only for the people from the Dragon Regiment. The others are fine. Luo Qingtong glanced at them and said, otherwise, why would she ask Ma Chunyi to lend her some people? And these were the top geniuses and backbone members of the Guei Yuan Regiment. Wasn't it to take over the territories of the Dragon Regiment? Luo Qingtong knew that the Dragon Regiment occupied a lot of territories in the Heavenly Hall's training grounds. She was willing to share these with the people from the Gui Yuan Regiment. The Gui Yuan Regiment provided people, and she provided strength. Each took what they needed. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't have any subordinates now. Moreover, to take over the ownership of these places from the Dragon Regiment, the people from the Gui Yuan Regiment were the most suitable. In this way, the other student forces wouldn't be unwilling and jealous. Luo Qingtong had always made the best use of everything. She gave Mo Chanai a big gift to save effort and reduce trouble, wasn't it? Yes. Thank you, Miss Qingtong. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, the people from the Gui Yuan Regiment instantly reacted. Soon, they understood from Luo Qingtong's words what a big gift this was to the Gui Yuan Regiment. It was equivalent to the people from the Gui Yuan Regiment getting a bunch of territories from the Dragon Regiment with their bare hands. And the people from the Dragon Regiment couldn't say anything. They looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. They thought that Luo Qingtong wanted to borrow the power of the Gui Yuan Regiment to fight against the Dragon Regiment. In the end, Luo Qingtong easily took action and suppressed the people from the Dragon Regiment. Not only that, she really gave the Gui Yuan Regiment a big gift. Thinking of the benefits of getting the ownership of these training grounds, the core members of the Gui Yuan Regiment felt a burst of excitement. They looked at Luo Qingtong with shock and shame. After all, before this, none of them believed Luo Qingtong's words. They thought that the big gift she said was just to look good on her own face. Now his face had been slapped swollen. Everyone was so embarrassed that they wished they could dig a hole in the ground and bury themselves. However, when they thought about how the Dragon Mercenary Group's face was even more swollen than theirs, the Gui Yuan Mercenary Group members immediately felt better. Those who were still gloating over the Dragon Group's misfortune had really kicked an iron plate this time. She thought that Luo Qingtong's people were easy to bully. She was afraid that she would be slapped in the face so hard that even her mother wouldn't recognize her. At the same time, he rejoiced that the Crown Prince was truly wise. If it wasn't for the fact that the Crown Prince wholeheartedly believed in Luo Qingtong's ability, their Gui Yuan clique would have really missed this opportunity. Thinking like this, everyone respectfully escorted Luo Qingtong away after leaving behind a core member of the Gui Yuan Regiment. After they left, the onlookers finally came back to their senses and burst into an uproar. Oh my God! The development of this matter is simply beyond everyone's expectations. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would not be able to do anything in front of the Dragon Group. Even if he used the strength of the Gui Yuan Group, he might not be able to make the people of the Dragon Group bow their heads. He didn't expect her to have such means. In this way, the people of the Dragon Group would have no choice but to bow their heads, right? Oh my God, there's a good show to watch. A group of people excitedly chased after the direction that Luo Qingtong and the others left. At first, the people of the Dragon Group didn't believe that Luo Qingtong had such means to make them unable to enter the wild battle cave to train. Chapter 9:15. But when the core member of the Gui Yuan clan went in unscathed, and the others did the same, they were speechless. Each and every one of them was shocked and shocked. This was too scary. Luo Qingtong actually only prevented the people of the Dragon Regiment from entering these training facilities. Then wouldn't the people of the Dragon Regiment be much weaker than others in terms of strength improvement in the future? Not only that, Luo Qingtong didn't seem to be only preparing to attack the Berserker's Cave. She was also preparing to do the same to the other training facilities. My God, this was a big matter against the Dragon Regiment. The faces of the people of the Dragon Regiment were pale, and they no longer had the arrogance and ridicule that they had when facing Luo Qingtong. Those who said that Luo Qingtong was crazy and a coward hiding in the Berserker's Cave and didn't dare to come out turned pale as if they were painted with a layer of paint. Thinking of the words that Luo Qingtong said to them before coming out, their legs trembled. Something big happened. Something big really happened. My God, this Luo Qingtong was really a monster. The group of people rolled and crawled towards the dragon regiment's base. Tong Hu and the rest were still waiting there with a group of core members of the dragon regiment for the arrival of Luo Qingtong and the people of the Gui Yuan clan. But they didn't know that Luo Qingtong had directly brought people to the Sky Hall's training ground and cut off all their escape routes. How terrible was it to not be able to enter the training ground to train? That would affect their strength improvement and promotion in the future. Ruthless. Luo Qingtong's move was really too ruthless. I'm afraid that Tong Hu and the rest wouldn't be able to withstand it after hearing it. After all, in this world where the strong were respected, why did they work so hard to get into the holy court of the Empire of Qin, join the Dragon Regiment, and rely on Her Royal Highness Wu Wang? Wasn't it to improve their strength? To stand above tens of thousands of people? With Luo Qingtong's move, it would be difficult for them to improve their strength. My God, this was a big matter. Deputy Regiment Leader. The group of people rushed to the Dragon Group's encampment in panic. At the same time, Tong Hu, Mo Yufei, Yuan Ma, and the others were waiting for Luo Qingtong's arrival. They already knew that Ma Chenyi had agreed to lend people to Luo Qingtong. In their opinion, Luo Qingtong didn't have any power to rely on. She would definitely use her connections to intimidate others and lead the Gui Yuan regiment to attack them. At that time, they would be able to legitimately attack the Gui Yuan clique. As for that Luo Qingtong who dared to provoke their dragon group and sent people to break their dragon group's plaque, they would not let her off either. Oomph. You and Mo, don't say that I didn't give you face. Tong Hu's face was cold. What your fiancé did was trampling on the face of our dragon core and His Highness King Wu. She must pay the price for this. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you can't keep an eye on this kind of woman, then quickly divorce her. That way, you won't be embarrassed. Tong Hu and Yuan Mo didn't get along well in private. Both of them were highly valued by Mo Chenxian, but Yuan Mo's talent and potential were higher than Tong Hu's. Therefore, Tong Hu naturally didn't like him. This time, when Luo Qingtong came to cause trouble, Tong Hu didn't need Yuan Mo to come himself. He sent people to call him over himself. It was all for the sake of ridiculing him. Luo Qingtong brought people to Gale Cave, and none of our people can enter. As soon as this was said, there was a dead silence. When Mo Yufei and Su Jinyue heard this, they immediately jumped up. That's impossible. How could Luo Qingtong do such a thing? Their voices were sharp. The two of them were just thinking about how to torture Luo Qingtong later, but they didn't expect to be slapped in the face before they even saw the ladder. Chapter 9:17. Yuan Ma was also in disbelief. The group of people rushed to the Heavenly Hall's training ground. Along the way, they kept receiving news about Luo Qingtong. More and more people from the Dragon Regiment were being chased out of the training ground. The veins on Tong Hu's forehead were about to burst. Needless to say, Mo Yufei and Su Jinyue were screaming in their hearts. How could this be? How could this be? How could Luo Qingtong do such a thing? They were waiting to see Luo Qingtong make a fool of herself. They were not waiting for the Dragon Regiment to be laughed at. The two men's palms were bleeding from their nails. Mo Yufei even raised her whip a few times, almost seriously injuring a few members of the Dragon Regiment who rushed back to report the news. When a group of people arrived at the Heavenly Hall's training ground, Luo Qingtong was about to leave after touring the most important training grounds. The two parties met at the gate. Tong Hu and the rest were instantly enraged. Luo Qingtong and Mo Yufei pulled out the whip in her hand and was about to hit her. At this moment, the people from the Gui Yuan Society stood out and blocked Luo Qingtong. Princess Yufei, I beg you to stop. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. Mo Yufei's whip was held by a core member of the Gui Yuan Society. She was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. She pointed at them and said angrily, "How dare you hit me? His Highness the Crown Prince ordered us to protect Miss Qing Tong. Princess Yufei, sorry. The people from the Gui Yuan Society said expressionlessly. They were all outstanding students in a heaven stage. There was no need for them to bow down in front of Mo Yufei and the rest. This was the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, not the palace of the Empire of Qin. The reason why they gave Mo Yufei some face was because she was Ma Chenye's sister. However, if the other party insisted on dealing with Luo Qingtong, they would not be polite. After all, Luo Qingtong's ability was worthy of their respect and protection. Not to mention that the other party had given them and the crown prince such a great gift. In comparison, Mo Yufei, the royal princess who stood on the side of the dragon group, was not as important as Luo Qingtong. Mo Yufei didn't expect that the people of Gui Yuan Group would be so protective of Luo Qingtong. The latter was shamelessly pestering her crown prince brother. Shouldn't they hate her? How is she as good as elder sister Qingwei? Are you all blind? Mo Yufei stomped her feet in anger. Could it be that the crown prince had taken a liking to this woman? She was furious, but Luo Qingtong was too lazy to pay attention to her. Just now, if it weren't for the people of Guyuan clique standing up in time, Luo Qingtong would have already grabbed Mo Yufei's whip and slapped her face. Her gaze swept past Mo Yufei and fixed directly on Tong Hu. She raised her eyebrows and said, "What? Is the dragon group rushing to apologize to us? But you're late." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. It's been more than 2 hours since noon. The amount of resources you have to return will be doubled. Luo Qingtong, Tong Hu could no longer hold back his anger. Don't be too proud. Don't think that you can force us to bow down just because you use some unknown method to disrupt the array in the training ground. Chapter 9:18. As soon as Tong Hu's words came out, everyone around them was stunned. Then, Mo Yufei's laughter rang out at once. How could I forget this? As she spoke, she raised her head and looked at Luo Qingtong proudly. She laughed loudly and said, "Luo Qingtong, do you think you can use this to threaten the dragon regiment? It's a pity that once the mentors are here, your threat will be useless." Mo Yufei was extremely proud when she said this. She didn't know what method Luo Qingtong used to prevent the dragon regiment from entering the cultivation facilities. However, this was different from the dragon regiment threatening Su Xiao and the others to prevent them from entering the cultivation facilities. Luo Qingtong had changed the array formations inside. As long as the mentors changed them back, what Luo Qingtong did would be useless at all. They were also frightened just now, so they didn't think too much about it. Now that they thought about it, Luo Qingtong's threat wasn't that big of a deal. As Mo Yufei thought of this, she raised her head and looked at Luo Qingtong proudly. The anger and embarrassment just now were no longer there. The dragon regiment was the same. After hearing Tong Hu's words, their hearts relaxed, and they weren't so frightened anymore. Su Jinwei was the same. She heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Luo Qingtong with a smug and gloating gaze. Luo Qingtong was indeed a little capable, but that was all. She wanted to force the dragon regiment to bow down? She was dreaming. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong and the others mockingly. Everyone in the Gui Yuan regiment also felt their hearts skip a beat. They looked at Luo Qingtong with a slightly worried gaze. They had just taken over the dragon regiment's territory. Nothing would go wrong, right? Luo Qingtong should have thought about this before she made a move, right? Everyone thought so, but they weren't very sure. After all, how could Luo Qingtong's ability be compared to the mentors? Not to mention that the array formation master was a saint-level spiritual array master. His ability to set up arrays was first class. Even if Luo Qingtong did something to the array, he should be able to see it. In this case, if the array formation master repaired it, everything Luo Qingtong did would really be in vain. What a pity. Everyone in the Gui Yuan regiment felt a little regretful. Luo Qingtong's method was really good. Although they didn't know how she did it, she was able to do it. Unfortunately, the members of the Dragon Group reacted too quickly and actually thought of looking for a mentor. As for the reason that there was a problem with the formation, no one could find any fault with it. After all, the Sacred Academy didn't care about the fights between students, but they had to take care of the problems with the cultivation array. Everyone shook their heads as they thought of this. For a moment, no one was optimistic about Luo Qingtong. Only Su Xiaoxiao and others held their heads and chests high. They believed that Luo Qingtong absolutely had a way and wouldn't be suppressed by the people in the Dragon Regiment. Since the girl met them, she had never done anything that she wasn't sure of. This time should be no exception. They were full of confidence, but in the eyes of the people in the Dragon Regiment, it was indescribably ironic. Wait until the Array Division Master arrives. Then you'll know what it means to be useless. Mo Yufei sneered in her heart and proudly played with a new jade whip in her hand. Luo Qingtong didn't bother to pay attention to them at all. Chapter 919. The group stood at the entrance of Sky Hall's training grounds, waiting for the Formation Department's head teacher to arrive. The latter didn't make them wait for long. He rushed over as soon as he received the news. "Where's the problem with the cultivation formation?" asked the Formation Department's head teacher. There was another old man who came with him. "Teacher, father." Seeing the old man come with the Formation Department's head teacher, Yu Wenma and Su Jinyue went up to greet him. Amen. The Seoul Institute's head teacher lightly grunted. His gaze swept across the crowd before landing on Luo Qingtong. "You're Luo Qingtong?" Last time at the plaza, when Luo Qingtong came back, the Seoul Institute's head teacher wasn't there, so he didn't recognize Luo Qingtong. This time, he was playing chess with the Formation Department's head teacher. When he heard about this, he came over. He sized up the red-clothed, peerlessly beautiful girl in front of him. The haze in his eyes grew heavier. The Seoul Institute's head teacher knew of his daughter's infatuation with Yu Wenma. He was happy to see this happen. However, Yu Wenma was unwilling to cancel the engagement. Although he admired Yu Wenma's loyal and trustworthy character, he felt that he was worthy of his daughter. At the same time, he didn't waste his cultivation. After all, who would want to raise an ingrate? However, wouldn't his daughter have no chance? The Seoul Institute's head teacher originally wanted to find a chance to talk to Yu Wenma in the future and have him take Luo Qingtong as his concubine. After all, with her status, how could she compare to his daughter? Not to mention worthy of Yu Wenma. But now, the Seoul Institute's head teacher looked at Luo Qingtong with a haze in his eyes. The girl's appearance and temperament were extraordinary. Just now, he heard from the Dragon Corps' people that she actually prevented them from entering the training grounds. She wasn't weak, and she had such ability. How could his daughter compare to her? The Seoul Institute's head teacher felt very uncomfortable. He looked at Luo Qingtong with an uneasy gaze. Yes. Seeing his gaze, Luo Qingtong raised her brows. What kind of gaze was that? Did he think she was blocking his daughter's path? "I'm really sorry. Yu Wenma was trash. Whoever wanted him could have him. She couldn't be bothered." Luo Qingtong also couldn't be bothered with him. After a casual reply, she looked at the Formation Department's head teacher. The latter also learned about most of the things from Tong, Hu, and the others. He looked at Luo Qingtong with surprise. This little girl is quite capable. The few teachers of the Grand Qin Sacred Academy had already left the ranks of the teachers of the academy. The elders and the Supreme Headmaster could discuss things with them, but they would never be able to order them around. It was even more impossible for them to force them to take sides. The great teacher of the Formation Institute was not on either side. Therefore, when he looked at Luo Qingtong, his eyes were filled with admiration. However, admiration was one thing. There was a problem with the Sky Hall's cultivation array. He still had to fix it. However, if Luo Qingtong really used her own ability to make changes to the Sacred Institute's formation, the Formation Department's head teacher felt that he could take her under his wing and help her. After all, such a gifted array formation genius was very rare. The Formation Department's head teacher thought as he walked to the nearest training ground. Chapter 920. Did Luo Qingtong think she could threaten them with such means? What a joke. Luo Qingtong, just wait for our dragon regiment's revenge. And you guys. Tong, who looked at the Gui Yuan regiment proudly and sneered. I hope His Highness the Crown Prince can give us an explanation when His Highness King Wu returns. Otherwise, they could use this to attack His Highness the Crown Prince. His opponent would not be able to avoid the battle with His Highness King Wu. His Highness King Wu would replace His Highness the Crown Prince and become the king of the Empire of Qin Dynasty. Tong, whose face was full of pride, he had to thank Luo Qingtong. Acting so recklessly had given them the best opportunity to do so. However, the smile on his face didn't last long before it changed dramatically because of the words of the returning Array Institute Grandmaster. There's nothing wrong with the array. The master of the array department walked around the many cultivation places and went to Wild Battle's cave. He did not find any problems and immediately returned with a frown. What? Tong Hu and the others' expressions changed when they heard the master of the array department, Mo Yufei, who was laughing so proudly that she couldn't close her mouth, and Su Jinyue, who was looking at Luo Qingtong coldly with gloating and complacent coldness in her eyes, also changed their expressions. Especially Mo Yufei, who directly put down her hand and screamed, "How is this possible?" Then the people from the dragon group said that they can't enter. The dragon regiment can't enter. The master of the array department had already confirmed this. He called a member of the dragon regiment to enter and found that as soon as he entered, he caused a violent reaction in the core of the array and was directly killed by the highest level of difficulty. However, there's nothing wrong with the array. He shook his head. Although the dragon regiment could not enter, the array was not changed by anyone and was not damaged in any way. However, this matter was not his responsibility. Obviously, Luo Qingtong's array skills were very strong. She must have done something to make the core of the array reject the aura of the dragon regiment. However, could the core of Sage Stage Array be so easily seen through? If this Luo Qingtong wasn't gifted and was a good seedling to learn the art of array formations, then she must have used some unknown method to find out the location of the core of the array formation. But no matter what it was, since there was no problem with the array formation, it was no longer under the control of the array formation master. At the thought of this, Tong Hu and the others' faces instantly turned ugly. Not to mention Mo Yufei and Su Jinyue. How is this possible? Luo Qingtong must have done something to the array. But the Grandmaster of the array department wouldn't lie.